Roger East, a Premier League referee, here in charge of this one this evening. And Pride Park is not quite full. There are a couple of seats which still have their flags perched on them behind the goal away to our left-hand side. The traffic around Pride Park is pretty awful on a Friday evening at the best of times. But everybody here is expectant as the Championship playoffs are about to get underway here on TalkSport 2, and it's Fulham who will get the game off and underway. Aleksandar Mitrovic inside the centre circle, and Fulham playing from left to right in the first half. Very quickly work the ball in towards their back four. Here is the Belgian, Dennis Odoi. And now Kearney with his first precise pass of the evening, looking for the flying Ryan Fredericks down the right-hand side, and he's done superbly well to keep the ball in play as he worked the 1-2 with Aite, and eventually Curtis Davies had to come from the centre to make the challenge, and that's an early sight of Fulham's intent. The throw-in taken quickly by Fredericks, and already if Fredericks gets that sort of pace and that sort of room, there could be problems.
He's very difficult to deal with because he comes from deep, he runs past, he's one of the quickest fullbacks around, and that's why Weimann has to be very sort of disciplined in his role and make sure that he stays with them runs, and him and Forsyth have got to talk to each other when to pass on and make sure that they're very communicative, that they're making sure they're talking and analysing the situation.
Well, the ground shuddered there as Mitrovic and Huddleston had a coming together, but eventually Fulham have the ball back as a number of beach balls are being thrown around the Derby County areas of the stadium, but this has far from an end-of-season feeling. A reminder of the two sides again. Derby, Carson in goal, Forsyth, Davis, Keogh and Wisdom, Johnson and Huddleston in midfield, Lawrence, Vidra and Weimann behind Jerome. It's Bettinelli in goal for Fulham, Fredericks, Odoi, Riemann, Target, Johansson, Kearney, McDonald, Aite, Mitrovic and Sessegnon. And Derby have barely had a kick so far as McDonald goes all the way back towards Bettinelli, who was wearing an orangey red goalkeeping outfit, defending the Fulham goal away to our left-hand side. Now Kearney again works it wide towards the far side and Target, and the early run is made into the penalty area by Johansson. Appeals for handball from the Fulham supporters grouped around the corner flag on the far side, and Stefan Johansson as Curtis Davies made the challenge, but Roger East waving away the appeals.
I think it was just one of them that bounced up and possibly caught him on the hand. I don't think there was real intention there. The interesting thing from Derby's perspective is that Weimann's playing really deep on this left-hand side, more or less as a wing-back. He's not really too concerned about Fredericks. He's more with Aite and helping Forsyth out, whether it's just a natural progression that he's moved that far back, or he's been told that he needs to play as a more of a back five than the 4-2-3-1 that we expected to.
Well, Derby County gave out their formation as a 4-2-3-1. Maybe there was some kidology there as a long ball is played forward right down the centre by Carson. It does strike Cameron Jerome on the upper arm, and the free kick has been given to Fulham.
Yeah, I do think that it's a five at the back, three centre halves with Wisdom and Weimann playing as the two wing backs, so a bit of kidology there. Fulham having a lot of the ball that we expect.
Now McDonald coming forward. 3 minutes played on TalkSport 2 in the playoffs, and it's 0-0 between Derby and Fulham. The second leg of this game will be played on Monday evening, and we will have the whole game for you live from Craven Cottage. We have all of the Championship, League One and League Two playoff games for you across the TalkSport network. The other semi-final is Middlesbrough against Villa. That starts over on TalkSport tomorrow at 5:15 with Jim Proudfoot, Sam Matterface and Sean Derry at the Riverside Stadium. Odoi plays the early ball forward looking for Mitrovic. It breaks into the path of Sessegnon with a low shot, right-footed on his wrong side inside the area, and it whizzed over the angle.
We just see the movement of the Fulham front three, goes into Mitrovic, finds the run of Sessegnon. Would have been interested if on his stronger side if he'd have been able to hit the target, but you're going to see a lot of that tonight where Fulham are going to have a lot of the ball, look to sort of Derby just sit back and soak things up, but they've got to stay with runners, and if Fulham get opportunities, one day somewhere down the line they'll probably take one of them.
The run was made forward by Tom Lawrence, but he loses out, and now Sessegnon has room and Rich to roam down the left-hand side for Fulham, up towards the edge of the penalty area. Lawrence, though, came back with him and stuck to his task and makes the challenge, and it will be a throw-in to Fulham on the far side, level with the edge of the Derby penalty area, and Matt Target will take it. into the feet of Mitrovic now on the corner of the box, and he's being clipped by Keogh, and it's a free kick here for Fulham in a dangerous area.
Yeah, again, he does it well, doesn't he? Mitrovic gets hold of it, brings the foul from the centre-backs, and puts it in. They'll have a good delivery from probably Kearney, is it, or Johansson? They'll probably take it, pushing the centre-halves up, looking for an early opportunity.
Well, Floyd Aite is over the ball as well. He can strike it with the right foot, but it tends to be Johansson with the left from that side. Targett now makes his way towards the edge of the penalty area. Every single Derby white shirt is back defending the free kick inside the penalty area. And if Aite takes it, it will be whipped in with some pace right on top of the goalkeeper, Scott Carson. And it's played short in the end to Targett on the edge of the penalty area. Now worked wide towards Aite. The cross from him, aimed for Adoy, and eventually it's volleyed clear by Huddleston, and that did seem to be needlessly over-elaborate.
Yeah, well, I think Fulham are not the biggest of teams. I think Derby will be disappointed if they concede from a set piece, so they have to be a little bit intricate to Fulham, and obviously on that occasion it didn't quite come off, but Derby have to be aware that they won't just put things in the box, and they have to be alert to things.
Nearly 6 minutes played, 0-0 at Pride Park on Talk Sport 2 in the Championship playoffs. Kearney with the early ball into the penalty area, but just takes a deflection off Wisdom as he tried to find Sessegnon, and it's through towards the former England goalkeeper Scott Carson. Fulham, of course, finishing third in the table. Their 23-match unbeaten run came to an end at Birmingham last week. Derby finishing in the final playoff place, 2 points clear of Preston, and they finish with 7 points in 9 games after only 2 wins in 13. Adoy tangling with Lawrence on this near side, and Lawrence just gets to his feet rather gingerly and hobbles away from that challenge as Fulham take their time about clearing. Eventually Bettinelli clears long downfield right-footed. Aite beaten to it in the air by Forsyth, and Lawrence was clipped again there, but Roger East is happy for play to continue. Now Weimann with the ball down the channel looking for Jerome. Bettinelli chose to stay and then checked his run because the flag was up for offside, but Tom Lawrence has a problem here.
Yeah, he got caught on the same ankle twice by the looks of it, top of his foot potentially. Again, we've spoke about it already. Derby are really compact, getting the bodies back, allowing Fulham to have the ball in certain areas, but when they get it into the middle third, then they'll look to press, and they'll have Cameron and Jerome looking to run in behind and stretch that back four of Fulham's. But an interesting start so far.
Well, Gary Rowett is absolutely furious with the nature of the 2 challenges made on Tom Lawrence there, who was still down receiving treatment from a pair of the Derby County physios. And in recent weeks we've seen a number of Premier League referees come down to the Championship, and I've seen the likes of Michael Oliver seem to enjoy the experience. Andre Mariner at Millwall Fulham the other day, and they seem to have had the mindset of trying to allow the game to flow, and they've allowed challenges to go which maybe they wouldn't have done in the Premier League. Yeah,
potentially, and look, I think there was nothing in that challenge, the 2 challenges, bit unfortunate. It's probably just been stood on a couple of times, but that's what you want to see. You want the game to flow. The Championship's all about sort of getting the game backwards and forwards. Supporters want to see challenges going in, as long as they're not over the top or anything like that. So hopefully we've got a referee that can control the game but allow it to go ahead and get some tempo to it.
Well, Lawrence just hobbling towards this near side. 8 minutes played, 0-0. And TalkSport 2 has teamed up with Sky Sports to tell you all about the dedicated Sky Sports football channel, with football from around the globe, including the EFL, SPFL, La Liga and more. Feel it all with Sky Sports. Kenny now back on the ball for Fulham as the game restarts. The American Ream infield again towards McDonald, who will tend to be the deeper of the trio in midfield. It's threaded forward by Fredericks on this near side beyond Mitrovic, and neither Johansson or Sessegnon have made the run, so it's gathered by Scott Carson once again. There is plenty of playoff experience on both sides here. Of course, Fulham losing in the semi-finals to Reading last season, but this Fulham side really has been improved by another 12 months under Slavisa Jokanovic. They eventually reeled Leeds in last season, who looked certain to make the playoffs under Gary Monk, but on this occasion they couldn't quite catch up with Cardiff City, having started from a fairly low base in the lower reaches of the table back in November. And when you saw Fulham play in the first 15 games or so, they looked like a side who might be struggling to avoid relegation rather than in this sort of situation.
Yeah, there's probably just different circumstances that contributed to that, in terms of they've been there in a bit of a hangover maybe from the playoffs the previous season, but they've certainly got the second half of the season and hit the ground really well, and some real talented players, exciting to watch, but it will be interesting how they deal with it again.
Simon Grayson with us here on TalkSport 2, a playoff winner with Leicester as a player, twice in the 1990s, beat Derby County back in 1994.
Don't say that too loud, I won't get out of here.
Also, was it Palace in 96, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Claridge shinned it in.
Shinned one in, yeah.
Yeah, although he denies it. Adoy all the way back towards Bettinelli, and as a manager, heading through the playoffs with Blackpool, Huddersfield and Preston, most recently in 2015. And I remember being at Ellen Road when you lost with Leeds against Millwall, and that was an incredible game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. The crowd was absolutely buzzing, and we had the tempo going, we had everything going in our favour, and then just an injury to somebody, head injury I think, which I think Millwall players just played on a little bit and killed the game for us, and then we obviously lost. I think it was 2-1 the second leg.
Yeah. And now Curtis Davis will just have a word with Roger East. He did rather go through the back of Mitrovic, just in front of us there, midway inside the Derby County half. And it's just a word for the Derby captain. Yeah,
look, Mitrovic got hold of it, moved the ball well, and just Curtis Davis just a little bit late on him. So good refereeing. There's no point to book him because it wasn't. There's no maliciousness involved in it.
Curtis Davis beat Derby in the playoffs with Hull a couple of years ago. Here is Sessegnon inside the penalty area, cuts it back, looking for Aite. There was a bit of pinball there in the Derby penalty area as they try and clear, and now Lawrence will stride over the halfway line. The ball should have been played to the right, and now Giroud will burst into the penalty area, look to go beyond Bettinelli, who stayed on his feet and made the challenge, but the flag is up for offside. And I think Gary Rowett is making the point to the officials on this near side. The final touch may have been off a Fulham player.
Well, we spoke that Fulham play this high-risk game, and they do leave themselves vulnerable at time, and Derby would counter-attack very quickly, and they did that. Obviously, just didn't quite execute the pass and the time of the run, but we've seen a couple of times so far that Derby can break quickly on the counter-attack when they nick the ball off them.
And now it's won back neatly by Mitrovic in the midfield area, and Fulham play it wide to this near side of Fredericks. Now Floyd Aite, who was back in the Fulham side tonight after a recent spell on the sidelines with injury, and he will offer more authentic pace than Lucas Piazon, who drops to the bench as Mitrovic is unable to hold the ball up on this occasion. Huddleston was the player who was back with him. Johansson now clips the heels of Bradley Johnson, and it will be a free kick to Derby County.
But Derby, Fulham do well at times when the opposition look to play little balls round the corner. They do press. You talk about Kearney and Johansson being attacking footballers who can handle the ball, but they do press and get that ball back quickly as well, and then obviously give it to likes of Sessegnon and Aite on this side to break quickly and obviously cause Derby a few problems.
Carson with the free kick downfield, rising to head the ball in field was Fredericks. The nod down from Kearney, picks out McDonald, and now Ream is almost forced into a tight spot on the edge of his own penalty area, but he evades the challenge of Cameron Jerome, and it's back again with Marcus Bettinelli defending the goal away to our left-hand side. Fulham quickly play the ball through the thirds once again with Kearney. The ball rarely leaving the ground, but it does so now as he clips it wide to the far side. Target was the target, but it's headed away by Wisdom. Only back to Fulham again, and they are dominating possession in the opening 13 minutes here on TalkSport 2, but it's still goalless. We had to wait for a long time for the opening goal at the Valley last night when Shrewsbury eventually beat Charlton by a goal to nil. Huddleston now characteristically flips one over the top, looking for Lawrence, and Lawrence was charged over by Adoy there. Very unnecessary from the Belgian. Pretty blatant as well, and it's a free kick to Derby.
Absolute needless. He was going nowhere, was Tom Lawrence. He's more or less next to the corner flag. Just let it see it out and probably get a throw in or a goal kick. But stupid decision from Odeyi. And you look at Fulham, they're not the biggest of teams anyway. Derby are a big strong team, and a set piece at this stage of the game is very crucial. So absolute ridiculous decision making from the centre back.
And some big units are rumbling forward now. Curtis Davis, Richard Keogh and Tom Huddleston to join Cameron Jerome inside the penalty area. And Lawrence will whip this ball in, right-footed and in-swinger. And Bettinelli has shown himself to be slightly suspect under the high ball at times this season when he was brought back into the Fulham side. And it's Lawrence who does whip it in high towards the far post, and Bettinelli, in fairness to him, does well to reach up with the left hand and pull the ball away.
But as a manager, you set your team out to play a certain way, and when a player makes a stupid decision like that, it can undo a lot of good work.
Huddleston losing out to Sessegnon, a real little and large confrontation on the far side. The ball eventually bobbles out of play. It will be a throw-in for Fulham. And the game has not really had any ebb and flow so far, but it's been an absorbing game despite that.
Well, as you're looking at it tactically, it's going to be very important for Derby, the two wing-backs. They're going to go through a lot of work tonight. You see at the moment the backing as a back five. They'll look to join in and give them the width, but from Wisdom and Vyman. But they've got to be careful of, obviously, the full-backs joining in, and they've got to have good shape and staying with runners.
McDonald tried to pick out the run of Aite on this near side, but Derby quickly clear. And here is Lawrence coming forward now down the left. Comes in field again, and there's a good run into the penalty area on this near side by Vidra with his back to goal. Back again it goes towards Forsyth. The high cross into the penalty area is headed away at the near post, and now rumbling forward is Bradley Johnson. A low cross from him, looked to find Lawrence, who slipped as he tried to lunge in, and Ream is able to clear the ball away, but Keogh will quickly win it back for Derby on the far side. Now the shaven-headed Andre Wisdom, a low cross in from him, right-footed, and it's cleared away up towards the halfway line by Ream, more convincingly this time. But Forsyth has it again down the left-hand side for Derby County. They're enjoying a good spell here. Johnson with a first-time ball, swept wide towards the right-hand side, and Wisdom, who will try and attack the penalty area. It's in towards Vidra, who tried to backheel the ball on the run towards Huddleston. It broke down, and eventually it's headed through towards Bettinelli.
Yeah, good spell of pressure from Derby. They got them pinned in. They had the spaces to be able to play it into people's feet, kept the second balls alive, and asked a few questions. That's good from Derby the last couple of minutes.
17 minutes played, 0-0 at Pride Park on TalkSport 2. We have all 4 playoff games across the TalkSport network tomorrow, starting at noon from League 1 on TalkSport 2. It is Scunthorpe against Rotherham. Then at 3 o'clock, Lincoln against Exeter, the programme coming live from Sincilbag. On TalkSport at 5:15, it will be Middlesbrough against Aston Villa. And then back on 2 at 7:30. What a huge game in League 2. It is Coventry against Notts County. Now Fredericks for Fulham on this near side. And it's a shock to see him at walking pace for a shame. Johansson with a high ball into the penalty area. It's nodded away though by Keogh. Hooked further clear by Huddleston up towards the halfway line. Lawrence tries to link up with Jerome. It's almost given away by Adoy, and it breaks to Fredericks, who's done well to find Johansson now, and Fredericks will try and burst forward. He finds Kearney. Kearney is challenged by Huddleston, but it breaks back into the path of Fredericks, who had a run into the penalty area until he was halted by a sliding challenge of Curtis Davis.
Yeah, look, Fredericks bombs on up and down on this right hand side, played a 1-2 and continued with his run, but you saw the experience of Curtis Davis coming across and seeing out the danger.
It's a grey, mild evening in the East Midlands. Blustery outside the stadium, but here inside this bowl it's a good deal calmer as Aite comes forward now, in terms of the weather at least, as Aite is halted by Forsyth, and it's cleared away by Vyman. Almost breaks into the path of Johansson. It's long and high, looking for Jerome, who will try and occupy both Ream and Adoy on this occasion. Adoy slips as he challenges Jerome. And it's important for Derby, Simon, that Jerome doesn't get too isolated. Yeah,
you're looking for Lawrence and Vidra, who are playing quite narrow, playing sort of like within the box of Johnson and Huddleston. But when it goes up to Jerome, who I think he'll try and occupy a day and try and rough him up a little bit, get hold of it, then you get the runners from midfield to support.
Nearly 19 minutes played, 0-0. Fulham won here by 2-1 in the snow back in March when Mitrovic and Sessegnon were both on the mark. It was a 1-1 draw at Craven Cottage back in November, right at the start of Fulham's long unbeaten run. And at that stage, they were down in 17th in the table. As the run is made forward from Targett up towards the edge of the penalty area, tries to play the 1-2 with Mitrovic, but Targett there was always second favourite as the challenge is made by Forsyth. But Derby don't hold on to the ball. Kenny wide towards Johansson down the left-hand side, and it's Lawrence who is getting through a huge amount of work at the moment as a wing-back. He makes the challenge, and it's a throw into Fulham again, midway inside the Derby half. And it's looped back by Johansson towards Ream, and here is Adoy. Wide towards Kenny again, who is always demanding the ball inside the Fulham middle third. McDonald, challenged by Jerome. And Jerome is having to do pretty much a one-man press against 4 Fulham players at the moment, as Adoy has time to find Fredericks on this near side, the right. Back towards Adoy again, and we can see and hear Gary Rowett inside the technical area urging his team to press a bit higher up the field.
Yeah, you've got to force it in back there, Bradley Johnson. It's important when it goes back to the Fulham goalkeeper that the back 3, back 5 do try and get up the pitch as high as possible, because you don't want the distances between the back 3 and the midfield too far apart, where you can allow Kearney and Sessegnon and Ayiti to get into the areas and pockets that can really hurt you.
Johansson, a good ball to find Kenny, but his control was loose for once. Vyman steps in with the challenge, but it's quickly won back by Fulham again. Kenny picks out the run of Johansson, who's got space and time right through the centre of the field. Clips it wide to the left. Wisdom will volley clear ahead of Sessegnon. And now Lawrence will break beyond the challenge of Targett now. And there's plenty of pace from him down the right-hand side. Still Lawrence, but the low cross is blocked by Ream. And Sessegnon has time to turn and clear and find Mitrovic inside the centre circle. He's strong enough to shrug off Bradley Johnson. He's done well now to play it wide to the far side. And Mitrovic has been penalised for the challenge on Forsyth. And Mitrovic gets up believing he should have had the free kick.
Could have gone either way, that, by the looks of it, to be fair. He's arguing his case that he was the one who got fouled. But you can see that it's vital that the wing-backs for Derby get up to join in. You see Vyman is sprinting to get up there and to give him that width and Wisdom on the right-hand side as well.
Wisdom coming forward again now. And Sessegnon will have to try and get back and hold up his run, which he does. But now Huddleston with one of those lazy-looking balls just lifted over the top. He was looking for Jerome, but it was beyond him. And it's gathered comfortably by Bettinelli. And Tom Huddleston has always been a player to play the game at his own pace, whether he was 18 or 33.
Yeah, look, he's got fantastic ability, play at the highest level, obviously, and got a range of passing that can really be helpful for Derby. What they've got to make sure is that they don't give it away too cheaply, because you can spend a lot of time without the ball when you're playing Fulham.
He was another Hull player to beat Derby in the playoffs back in 2016, that remarkable semi-final when Andy Robertson, now of Liverpool, scored for both sides. And Derby lost by 3-0 here, but very quickly they were 2-0 up at the KCOM Stadium, and Hull City just about hung on to win that 3-2 on aggregate before beating Sheffield Wednesday in the final. Now Targett on loan from Southampton, wide on the far side, the Fulham left, infield from Kearney. And Fulham at the moment are enjoying plenty of control possession. Though having said that, Adoy look for Fredericks, commentator's curse, and it's straight out of play.
Hopefully you won't be saying that too many times tonight. And I think you do see tonight that you're going to get into certain areas of Fulham. Derby are going to allow them have the ball, and they'll have that 5 and be very protective of it. But once it goes out to Fredericks and Taggart on the other side, the shuffle across. The wing back pushes onto the full back. The right-sided centre back or left-sided centre back comes and plays as a left back. And it's more in time what they've worked on for probably the last week or so is paying fruition for him at the moment.
Kenny looks to shrug off Huddleston. And it's wide towards Targett down the left. One of these teams, of course, will be in the final on the 26th of May, the Saturday of the bank holiday weekend. And Talk Sport will be the only station to bring you commentary of both the Championship playoff final and the Champions League final between Liverpool and Real Madrid. Both games only here. Ream, square towards Adoy. And Fredericks just miscontrolled slightly, and there's just been a slightly careless edge to Fulham's game at times, but maybe that's understandable with the pressure that's on both of these sides. Derby County in their 10th successive season in the Championship, and it's the third season in 4 that they've been in a really good position. They were second in the table from the end of December until the middle of February, but then they've fallen away really badly, and a number of these players have been involved in all 3 of those slumps. Mitrovic with a lazy layoff, although he was challenged by Davis, and Bradley Johnson will try and bring it clear, but Derby frenetic in possession, give the ball away again. Mitrovic this time finds Johansson, but Huddleston with a good recovery challenge, and Derby go long again, and it's too long for Jerome, only finding Bettinelli.
Well, you see the importance of Mitrovic. It goes into him and it sticks. He's clever. He knows when he's going to get runners to play a one-touch layoff to the runners, or does he keep hold of it and wait for the support and the movement from the fullbacks and the 2 wide players coming inside off the line. So he's trying to pin Curtis Davis and give himself that opportunity as a platform.
Adoy lays it into the path of Mitrovic. It breaks towards Aite, who comes infield from the right-hand side. Maybe thought about the shot left-footed, but instead finds target. A low ball driven in towards the near post, and Carson there plunged in together with Mitrovic bearing down on him. Now Weimann losing out to Fredericks, and there could be trouble here for Derby. Fredericks bursting into the penalty area down the right-hand side. May need some support, and he finds Aite with a sharp header at the near post, and it's gone behind for a goal kick.
The first attack there from Tagger, he was sort of, you expected more of a higher cross going into the box, but he played it along the deck, and I think Mitrovic sliding in and just couldn't quite get enough on it. Weimann gives it away cheaply down this side, and the last thing that you need is Fredericks running at you, but Aite decided, couldn't control his header on target. So good spell of play there from Fulham.
Carson clears downfield, 26 minutes played, still goalless here at Pride Park in the first leg of this Sky Bet Championship playoff semi-final, and the second will be live on TalkSport tomorrow, a 5:15 kickoff between Middlesbrough and Aston Villa. Steve Bruce looking for his 5th promotion from this level, and that would extend his own record, and of course 2 of those coming in the playoffs, 1 each for Birmingham and Huddersfield, looking to join Simon in the fairly exclusive club of managers who've come through the playoffs with 3 different teams.
Hopefully somewhere down the line there's another couple.
Of course. Now Vidra moving forward now, wide towards the far side. Wisdom is the target, and he'll get there before Target. Wide towards the far side again, and Lawrence, and Derby rather delay, and they have players inside the area. It's Keogh, the Irishman, who will eventually bring it forward again, but he's forced to check in field by Johansson. And here is Forsyth, all the way back towards Bradley Johnson, who scored the first goal of the Championship season way back in August at Sunderland in our first commentary game from the EFL on TalkSport and TalkSport 2, as Lawrence comes forward now, looks to find Jerome inside the penalty area, but the ball just took a key deflection at the near post, and it bobbles through towards Bettinelli. Yeah, good pressing from Derby. I think Gary Rowett just showing his sort of frustration a little bit. They've got into a real good area, then they're not quite the pass and the execution of that opportunity to really punish the mistake by Fulham there. So that's what we spoke about. They'll come into areas, and when you get the press, then can you counter-attack quickly? Can you then be ruthless on the counter-attack of when you've got overturned possession? Kenny wide towards Target, and here is Ream now on the halfway line for Fulham, and Target has not really had a ball to run onto down the left-hand side yet. Most of his play has been in front of the Derby back four. Here is Odoi. Infield again towards McDonald, who at times is almost slotting in as a third central defender as Fulham try to play the high line. And McDonald now finds Mitrovic, but Davis comes in with a challenge, and at the moment Davis is winning the majority of challenges against Mitrovic as Huddleston clips it wide to the far side, and Wisdom, who comes infield and tries to link up with Vidra on the edge of the penalty area, but it's good defending again by McDonald to step in and find Bettinelli, who was closed down quickly there by Vidra, and as a result his clearance is rather sliced towards this near side and straight out of play for a throw into Derby.
Again, you just see Gary Rowett on the touchline. He's slightly frustrated that they've got into a good position and not really capitalised on the opportunity they had in that final third, and that's a key area that we keep talking about.
Gary Rowett twice losing out in the playoffs in League Two with Burton Albion, and he's one of these managers who's often seemed to be at his best when he has been an underdog, as Weimann nods it down the line, but the ball was out of play on this near side, the Derby left, and it will be a throw-in to Fulham. But when you're at Derby County, you're not the underdog, are you? And maybe he's had to readjust this season.
Not very often. He's obviously making out that they're underdog in this particular two-legged
affair. Nobody's buying that.
Pardon?
Nobody's buying that.
No,
really?
No. We spoke about that before the game, but you look at him at this moment in time, he's kicking every ball, he's going through every emotion.
Well, he was part of the Derby team which won promotion to the Premier League as a player, and he's now frustrated again and heads towards the fourth official, Kevin Friend, as Odoi was fouled, and it will be a free kick to Fulham midway inside their own half. The game has rather gone off the boil in the last 10 minutes or so, 0-0 with half an hour played.
Yeah, both teams have got into the final third and never worked the goalkeeper, so I think both teams will be a little bit disappointed in that respect, that you get into, especially Fulham, they get up to this area by passing it through the thirds, trying to work Scott Carson. Derby different, that they come on the counter-attack, but they're not just executing that final pass that allows one of the strikers of Vidra and Lawrence to get a shot on target and work Bettinelli.
Fulham give the ball away again on the far side. It will be a throw-in to Derby. 14 minutes to play in the first half, and it's still 0-0 here on TalkSport 2 at Pride Park. And don't forget, you can hear TalkSport 2 wherever you go by downloading the TalkSport app, which is free of charge, and listen to TalkSport 2 via your phone. As a high ball is played forward again, and it's nodded down by Jerome initially, but Ream will just play it back towards Bettinelli, and Derby have got a problem to solve here because Lawrence is breaking alongside Jerome, but apart from that we've not seen too much. Yeah,
and I think you see the importance of Kevin McDonald for Fulham, that he's dropping in, he's on the toes of Cameron Jerome, that when it goes into him he's there to protect, but also he's the outlet and tries to make things he gets things started on the passing front as well.
We mentioned before the game as Mitrovic on the edge of the penalty area tries to find Johansson, and Johansson barges into the challenge of Huddleston, and the free kick has been given to Derby on the edge of their own penalty area. We mentioned that Marcus Olsson was an injury doubt for this game, and apparently he's damaged his anterior cruciate ligament in his left knee, and he'll be out for 9 months.
Oh dear, that's a blow for the lad, and obviously Derby County, an attacking fullback, and especially when they're playing this system of wing backs, that's his key strength. So he's disappointing and a big miss for him.
Now Kenny infield again towards McDonald, and here was an opportunity for Mitrovic to bring the midfield runners into the game. He finds McDonald, and it's wide towards the left hand side and target. Johansson joins in down the left, and now Sessegnon again, who's been quiet in the game so far. Johansson is then challenged by Wisdom, and it's quickly brought away by Vidra up towards the halfway line, but the quality of the final ball for Derby not good enough. But now they go long, and Weimann is onside on this near side, the left, infield towards Vidra, back towards Weimann again, who cuts in field. Aite will try and make the challenge, but he's brushed off by Weimann. Huddleston, a clever ball from him to change the point of the attack back to the left and fore side. A high crossing, Jerome's header! Cameron Jerome with a wonderful goal for Derby County, and they strike first in this playoff semi-final. Fulham were pulled this way and that, and eventually Cameron Jerome, a playoff comes up with a big moment. Derby 1, Fulham 0.
I think saw the importance of Tom Huddleston there. He got the ball, it a raking pass of about 50 yards out to this left-hand side. And for the first time in a while, Derby decided to keep the ball a little bit. Vyman got it, run inside, looked for another pass. I think then worked out to Forsyth, I think it was. And once that ball goes in the box, what a great ball it was. And Cameron Jerome, we talked about his height and his experience, attacked it and got the finish that the cross deserved. So well played from Derby. They've withstood quite a bit of pressure and the ball that Fulham have had, but they've got that all-important first goal that can give them obviously a massive lift.
And the body language from the Fulham players as they line up again is not great.
Well, this is going to be interesting. We spoke before the game after disappointing from last weekend, how they respond to that first goal. They've got to dig deep. They've got to make sure they're going at half-time at only the goal down at the very least. Do not need to sort of concede a second one. Let the manager organise and get a few things across. But again, it's the mental strength now of Fulham. How do they deal with adversity and make sure that they've got some character and spirit amongst them?
Well, you mentioned the lack of height collectively across the Fulham team, and it was Targett and Sessegnon trying to deal at the far post with Jerome, and that's a real mismatch.
Yeah, when balls go in the box, he thrives on that. He likes to see that ball coming in. It was a great ball, 6-yard box, just bending away, and he's always going to beat the likes of Taggart and Ream because of his sure physical presence. So just what the Derby supporters wanted to see tonight, and obviously the place is bouncing.
Well, the fans are bouncing at the moment. Long way, of course, to go in this game. 35 minutes played in the first leg, but it's Derby who lead by a 1-0. Now Johansson finding Sessegnon wide on the left-hand side. So much has been spoken about Ryan Sessegnon this season. And Fulham may need a moment of inspiration from their 17-year-old now, the Championship Player of the Season, Young Player of the Season and Apprentice of the Season. But all those awards will count for very little if Fulham don't get promoted. Now Kenny on the edge of the penalty area, sways beyond one challenge. The shot is eventually blocked by a lunging Keogh. Here is Aite down this near side, the right, back towards Fredericks again. Johansson finding Kenny. Kenny was caught there by Johnson, and it's a free kick to Fulham about 35 yards from goal in the central area.
Yeah, the key players for Fulham at this moment in time have not been as influential as they would like. The likes of Kenny, Johansson really. Sessegnon's not had a great deal of the ball, but write them off at the apparel because they certainly can affect the game in a quick turnaround.
Well, a ball in towards Kenny there. Doesn't pick him out, and Huddleston has space and time, and it's a raking ball from him from right to left to find Lawrence now. Charging forward on the overlap is Vyman, but Lawrence chooses to come back in field again and find Johnson. And at the moment Fulham are doing plenty of chasing without the ball. Now Wisdom early into the near post looking for Jerome again, but Ream will shepherd it back towards Bettinelli.
Well, I think that Derby have just found out that the space is between either full-back and the centre half. Because they push on so far up the pitch, it does leave that opportunity to play balls in between the right-sided centre-back and right-back, and on the other side of the pitch, left-back and left-side centre-half. And they've made some good runs. What they've got to make sure they do, Derby, is that when they get it, then they retain possession. Don't give it away cheaply. And by doing what they did, led to the goal.
Fredericks saw his run halted illegally by Lawrence on this near side. It will be a free kick. Some sort of pyrotechnic was let off following the goal. We can smell the sulphur in our nostrils at the moment as the smoke still clears behind the goal away to our right-hand side. Derby 1, Fulham 0 with 37 minutes played on TalkSport 2. Fredericks bobbing and weaving beyond the challenge of Vyman. Infield towards Johansson. Now Kearney, who has done plenty of work on the half turn so far, as Mitrovic turns now, and the left-footed shot is clutched by Carson at the second attempt.
Well, that's what we spoke about. He can go into Mitrovic, he can lay things off, he can turn, and he did it all in one movement. Just set it to his left foot, shot very quickly, and Carson, as he said, gathered it at the second attempt.
Forsyth with the early ball forward again. Jerome looking to find a gap between Ream and Odoi, and neither are really comfortable with what they're having to deal with at the moment, as Bettinelli finds Ream again by the corner flag on this near side. It's a poor ball forward from him, which Johnson knocks back towards the Fulham goal, but I think Jerome knew he was going to be offside, so it's how to play for a goal kick. And all the noise at the moment is coming from the Derby County supporters. They started this game 13 points behind Fulham on the regular season, but as we all know, what happened previously counts for very little now.
Doesn't matter where you finish, you're in them playoffs, everybody starts on an even keel, and to the disgust of the Derby supporters, they've got a free kick goal against them.
Yeah, Weimann just catching Fredericks, and we saw one real burst from Fredericks in the first 10 seconds of the game, but following that, Derby have done a very good job of halting the runs in the wide areas. Yeah,
the shape has been really good, Derby, that when it goes to a fullback in about the final third, the wing back then deals with the fullback, the outside of the two centre halves comes across to their wide player, the shuffle across, they're making it real narrow and compact, and the shape has been very good, and it's making it a very difficult night so far for Fulham.
And Bradley Johnson, who was part of the Leeds team which lost under Simon in the League One playoffs to Millwall back in 2009, just has a word with Roger East, but his last game for Norwich was a successful one in the playoff final against Middlesbrough 3 years ago, when Cameron Jerome was on the score sheet. And that's also been the story here tonight so far, with Derby leading by a goal to nil. And people always say that the team who finishes third looked vulnerable in the playoffs, but on 11 occasions the side finishing third has eventually won promotion through the playoffs, as McDonald slides in with a heavy challenge, but a fair challenge to win it back from Davis on the halfway line, and it's played back in field for Fulham by Ream again. And Fulham were just rather lulled into not a false sense of security, but the passing was poor before the goal, and maybe they were just settling for being in the game rather than forcing the issue. Yeah, and they've got to move it just a little bit quicker in certain areas, because it allows Derby to get their shape back and the bodies behind the ball. Aite now wide towards this near side, the right, and Fredericks almost level with the edge of the Derby penalty area. Aite is given room to turn, he nutmegs Forsyth, he tries to find Fredericks on the outside, but the opportunity is eventually smothered by Derby, and Lawrence will hook away down this near side at the expense of a throw-in. 4 minutes to play in the first half on TalkSport 2. Derby County 1, Fulham 0 in the opening championship playoff game. Now Targett on the far side, infield towards Kearney again, and Targett will go all the way back to the halfway line, and it was almost intercepted by Jerome, but Ream had the presence of mind just to shuffle to his right, and here was Johansson coming forward now, but it's a dreadful ball from him straight to Davis. He quickly finds Lawrence, and now Jerome will work it wide towards Lawrence again on this near side, the left. He always has to come in field onto his right foot, but he's found the huge hulking figure of Cameron Jerome. And now Huddleston, who's another big unit, finding Keogh. Keogh quickly finds Vidra, just operating behind Jerome, and it's now Derby who was stroking the ball around with some confidence. The next goal in this tie, absolutely crucial. Johnson wide towards Wisdom again, who's got time to find Keogh. A high ball swept in, looking for Jerome with a header. It's nodded away by Odoi. It'll be kept in play by Weimann on this near side. Weimann now finds Johnson. It's a great ball from Johnson. Here is Lawrence now, has to come in field again, and Fredericks does just enough, but Lawrence regains possession. Huddleston, always aware of the opportunities around him, finds Keogh charging forward on the far side, the right. Now Wisdom cross loops up off Sessegnon into the penalty area, and Ream is able to head the ball away, but it's nodded back in field by Huddleston. Odoi's clearance will eventually find Kearney, and then under pressure Fulham eventually get the ball clear. These are really big moments in the tie as a whole, as an awful ball is played across the field by Targett straight towards Weimann, and now it's Jerome peeling away to this near side, the Derby left. He looked to take on Odoi and burst into the penalty area, but the Belgian stands firm, and it's hooked away on this near side by Fredericks. Good spell of pressure from Derby. What they've done is, which Gary was getting a bit frustrated on earlier on, was that they've kept the ball, they've moved it around, they've got into the final third, then they've not rushed the pass, they've made sure they've
to take care of it, and that's led to the people being able to get on the ball, put crosses in the box for Jerome to get onto. Then they're getting second balls and recycling things back out wide and not allowing Fulham to get any possession of the ball. So it's been a good spell of possession so far and time for Derby. Fulham so far have got to make sure that they're hanging there till half time.
Target with a long diagonal ball forward, looking for Mitrovic. It's beyond both him and Davis, but that was a change of tack from Fulham to go long. Didn't work on this occasion, but maybe they need to do more of that. Yeah,
we know that Mitrovic is decent in the air. It needs to be a little bit of better quality going into him, but when you've got the three centre backs up against him, they're nice and compact. You've got Johnson and Huddleston just protecting. They've just got to have a little bit more care about the passing of Fulham at this moment in time, because we all know that they're a better team than they're showing at this moment in time.
Well, Fulham, only the fourth club in Football League history in the second tier to go more than 20 matches unbeaten and not finish in the top two. And ominously for them, the other three all lost in the playoffs. Now Ream, wide on the far side to pick out target, the most recent one of those, Derby, or rather Brighton I should say, a couple of years ago. Now McDonald has time to bring the ball forward. Fredericks is the ball wide to the right-hand side. McDonald was maybe fouled by Huddleston, but he regains his footing. He finds Mitrovic on the edge of the penalty area, and it's Kearney who's trying to get closer to Mitrovic now. And it's wide to this near side, the right, and Aite. Fredericks will make the run around the outside to try and create the overlap, but the ball in field towards Mitrovic is eventually cleared away by Davis, but Fulham quickly play it back towards the edge of the penalty area. It loops high into the night sky. There was a handball there by Bradley Johnson as the ball dropped down, but not deliberate according to the referee, and Wisdom can now bring it clear on the right-hand side for Derby County. Into the final moments of the first half here. There'll be 1 single minute of added time. Lawrence finding Jerome on the edge of the penalty area. And now Vidra will have to spin and go all the way back towards Keogh once again. Keogh's got time to deliver the ball in field towards Huddleston. And Derby finishing the first half on the attack. Forsyth now picks out Lawrence. Aite will try and hold him up, but Lawrence tries to find Weimann, but in his haste to do that, he knocks it over the shoulder of the Austrian, and Johnson on the halfway line will find Huddleston once again. Neat and tidy as ever. Weimann looks for the run of Vidra from midfield, but it's beyond him and gathered by Bettinelli.
Now you can see Derby have grown with the confidence. They're taking care of the ball more. They're not rushing the final pass. They're taking the better options. They're giving the wing-backs the opportunity to get up the pitch. They've got Curtis Davis going tight as he can do on Mitrovic. So far it's been a good team performance from Derby.
And I'm sure if the full-time whistle blew now, they would settle for what they have, leading by a goal to nil. Fredericks finding Kearney on the edge of the penalty area. Now Johansson. Fredericks again as the half-time whistle goes. And a quarter of the way through this semi-final, Derby County lead Fulham by a goal to nil. An excellent team goal, finished by the head of Cameron Jerome after 34 minutes. Fulham started well, but Derby County gradually wore them down and finished the first half in the ascendancy. Yeah, they got hold of the ball. The first real bit of quality from both teams, to be fair, was the pass from Huddleston. Kept hold of the ball, did Weimann, worked it out to Forsyth, and then he put a great ball that basically said to somebody, go and head it into the back of the net. And you had big Cameron Jerome, who loves them sort of opportunities, saw it in the back of the net, and then he saw Derby grow. They made sure they kept the ball, and they looked a better team. The shape has been good. They've asked questions of the Fulham back four, where really Fulham haven't asked too many questions of Derby's back five. Half time then, Derby County 1, Fulham 0.
Thank you, Nigel. Brought to the club Cameron Jerome in January to drive Derby back to the top flight. Simon Grayson, he absolutely soared at the far post, didn't he?
He did, and he's a player that I tried to sign in the summer for Sunderland. So he's had a good career. He's that focal point, and it was a ball that made the goal. He was waiting for somebody to head it, and when you've got somebody the size of Cameron, you're expecting him to go in there and put it in the back of the net, and it gives Derby a big lift in a game that was really tight up to that stage. But it's obviously give them a big lift, and they've looked the better team.
And Derby clever how they adapted, or we should say off the bat, a little bit of double bluff from Gary Rowett. It's certainly very early on, it was evident it's back three with wing backs, being able to really be the wider of the two sides, play with great width, and of course the goal came from this near side.
Well, the thing when you play with wing backs, it gives you the width from the full backs, from wing backs should I say, but also the way Fulham want to play, you're really compact in the middle of the pitch with your three centre halves. You've got Johnson and Huddleston protecting, and then you've got Vidra and Lawrence not playing wide, they're playing quite narrow as well, so it's really congested. And then when it does go wide to Fredericks and Target, you've then got Vyman coming out to Fredericks, you've then got Forsyth coming out to Aiti, and everybody shuffles across. Wisdom then becomes a right back in a back four, and it's something that they've obviously worked on, and the shape's been very good. The only thing that you would ask can they physically maintain this for 90 minutes? Wing backs pushing up, getting backwards and forwards, because it's a tough ask for wing backs to do that role.
Hugely impressed how well organised and well drilled Derby have been. The shape they've picked up very quickly. Fulham have made it easier for them because I think there's a real breathless energy to the game, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Fulham are playing with a great tempo.
Not really. I think they need to move it a little bit quicker. They need to have a little bit more variation, a little bit more movement from the wide players when it goes into Mitrovic. And ultimately, you look at Target, he's not really joined in too much on that left-hand side. You want him to be forcing Wisdom back. You want Fredericks, like he is doing, pushing Vyman back to make it a back five. But ultimately, when you get into that final third, then you've got to have the pass, then you've got to have people getting on the end of things, and ultimately working the goalkeeper. You can have as much possession as you want, and it won't surprise me that Fulham might have 70-odd% possession without having a shot on target this moment in time.
Fulham haven't had that shot on target, and we spoke about maybe Fulham's need to go a little more direct into Alexandra Mitrovic. It's bogged down at times, it's flooded that middle third of the pitch. It doesn't mean that Tom Kearney's not going to carry on showing for the ball. They're going to try and be brave, they're going to try and pop it in and around there, Simon, but I feel the need, they've got to change it up in that second half, haven't they? They've got to get the ball forward a little quicker.
A little bit. They've either got to go up to Mitrovic a little bit quicker, or if they're going to move it on the deck, they've got to have more movement and quicker one-touch, two-touch passing. It's sort of fizzled out at times with no real ball into the box, that final pass, that final run from Fredericks, etc. So yeah, you've got to make sure that they have the plan B, which they do have, and as we've seen the stats now, 71% possession for Fulham without a shot on target is how they play, and the manager will be desperate for more action in around the 18-yard box.
I suppose in a week, growing talk, growing clamour that Ryan Sessegnon will be included in the England senior squad next week. That provisional squad to be named by Gareth Southgate ahead of the FIFA World Cup in Russia in 2018. TalkSport and TalkSport 2, of course, you're home for commentaries across the tournament. They had an influence over the game, which says an awful lot, I suppose, about Fulham as an attacking force.
Well, you say that Derby have defended it very well, as we mentioned, very compact in what they were doing. But you're only as good as the supply that you get sometimes from your teammates, and they have to move that ball quicker. They have to allow him the 1-versus-1 opportunities that he thrives on, where he can get the ball and run at people. And with Derby getting the first goal, they're not going to go away from what they've done at this moment in time, have the back five and the real narrow four in there, making it compact. So they've got to find something different of Fulham if they're going to get something out of the game tonight.
The kidology, Nigel, from Derby, and wonderfully drilled.
They are a typical Gary Rowett team in that first half, and at times this season they haven't looked like that, and that's why he really got into them in the closing weeks of the season when they were losing games. I think in particular that defeat they had at Burton Albion, that was the one which was the straw which really broke the camel's back for him, but he saw some signs of progress during the home defeat to Middlesbrough. Then they beat Derby here by playing like that in the last quarter of the game, and I know that Fulham will create chances, but as Simon said, 71% possession and one shot on target, that effort from Mitrovic, which was a comfortable save. But having said that, Derby had one effort on target and scored. So
yeah, and I think there's a slight difference that we're talking about through the campaign, the normal campaign, that the expectancy level is that they have to go out and win games, and sometimes it doesn't always pan out like that. And I think we've talked about Derby being the underdogs, and maybe we're underestimating Gary's sort of chat before the game, that he's actually playing everything down, that they're going to make it compact, they're going to make it tough to beat, and they're going to give up possession, and they're going to hit him on the counter attack. So far I think he's won the the tactical battle between the two managers, but I'm sure the Fulham manager will be certainly getting into his players about what they need to do better.
Would you be concerned body language that you're seeing a lot of arm throw actually from Slavici Jokanovic at the end of his technical area? But I know Nigel pointed out that goal goes in when Jerome rises at the far post. A lot of stooping heads.
Well, I think it's only natural that you're disappointed when you concede a goal, but what you don't want to happen is to allow that to continue for another 4 or 5 minutes. That's why it was so important that Fulham didn't concede another goal before half-time, because that would be a sign of weakness and a sense of not having a strong spirit and resilience about them. So they've got to half-time. They can address a couple of situations, and you might see another different type of Fulham team to this first half that we might get in the second half.
A great deal of this tie between Derby County and Fulham still to come in the Sky Bet Championship playoff semi-finals, but half-time here at Pride Park, big advantage Derby.
Adoy plays the early ball forward looking for Mitrovic. It breaks into the path of Sassignon with a low shot, right-footed on his wrong side inside the area, and it whizzed over the angle towards Aite, who comes infield from the right-hand side, finds target, a low ball driven in towards the near post, and Carson there plunged in together with Mitrovic bearing down on him. Fredericks bursting into the penalty area down the right-hand side. May need some support, and he finds Aite with a sharp header at the near post, and it's gone behind for a goal kick. Back to the left and fore side. A high cross in. Jerome's header! Cameron Jerome with a wonderful goal for Derby County, and they strike first in this playoff semi-final. Fulham were pulled this way and that, and eventually Cameron Jerome, a playoff specialist, comes up with a big moment. Derby 1, Fulham 0. Now Kearney, who has done plenty of work on the half turn so far, as Mitrovic turns now, and the left-footed shot is clutched by Carson at the second attempt. Fredericks again as the half-time whistle goes, and a quarter of the way through this semi-final, Derby County lead Fulham by 1-0. An excellent team goal, finished by the head of Cameron Jerome after 34 minutes. Fulham started well, but Derby County gradually wore them down and finished the first half in the ascendancy.
The Premier League live on Talk Sport and Talk Sport 2 with Sky Sports.
Header into the back of the net.
Every kick, every goal, every game.
Left-footed shot. Oh, brilliantly done.
With pre-match build-up and post-match phone-ins.
What a way to bounce back.
The Premier League live on Talk Sport and Talk Sport 2 with Sky Sports. The dedicated Sky Sports Premier League channel is the home of the Premier League, with live games, a weekly debate show and more. Ah, the humble bee. Off to work they go. Amazing what you can achieve when you work together towards a shared goal. That's why we asked you, the customer, what you wanted most when we developed our new transit range. Your response inspired thousands of ideas, creating a new range purpose-built for every kind of business. Take the new Torneo Custom, our most professional and luxurious model yet. You can get flexible rear conference seats offering 30 different seating arrangements. Thanks for that. We couldn't have done it without you. See how we can all work together with the new transit range at Ford.co.uk. Ford. Together, we go further.
So, Tom, what is a flat white?
It's a harmony of milk and espresso enveloping into one another with the stretching of milk to forge a silky, smooth microfoam.
Microfoam?
Yeah, it's a delicate balance of rich and smooth, strong and light.
You're reading it from the wall, aren't you?
Yeah, haven't a clue. But the lady at McDonald's said it was like a stronger latte with less milk.
Made with 100% Arabica beans, the Flat White is now part of the McCafe range at McDonald's. Great tasting coffee. Simple.
At DFS, sofas are handmade to order in your choice of colour, and now Spring Collection sofas are up to half price. But be quick, selected sofas end Monday. DFS.
The Dictionary of Driving by Mazda. Today, the letter F. F is for Fleet Elite. Mazda fleet cars that are a cut above the rest. The Mazda 3 and the Mazda CX-5 easily qualify as the Fleet Elite. With fine craftsmanship and high spec as standard, both are ideal for company car drivers who need reliable, high-quality vehicles that won't break the bank. Readily available with Mazda Business Contract Hire. Why not join the Fleet Elite? Search Mazda Fleet. Mazda. Drive together. Business users only. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
If I won on Lotto this Saturday, I'd treat my sister Tracy because she deserves it more than anybody I know. She's kind, caring, really gorgeous. She means the world, actually. She means everything. Yeah, I've only got one sister, and she's the best sister ever. She just does all the things that a sister should do. She's a person who never expects to be treated, and she'd be so happy. It'd be beautiful to see her face. She's got a lovely face.
Lotto. Who wins if you win? Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Sunday afternoon, League One playoff semi-final second leg live. Shrewsbury versus Charlton. Coverage from 5 on TalkSport 2.
The 72 on TalkSport 2.
Yep, you're home of the EFL playoffs, and the games continue to come thick and fast. 4 live commentaries for you tomorrow across our network, starting from midday and build up. Kick-off from 12:30 in Sky Bet League One. Scunthorpe and Rotherham. Alex Crook and Matt Murray, the former Wolfkeeper, calling that game for us on TalkSport 2. I'll be at Sincil Bank alongside Mark Wilson and Neil Redfern for Lincoln against Exeter in Sky Bet League 2. Danny Cowley, quick to call Lincoln the Sky Bet League 2 underdogs. Don't believe them for a second. Sincil Bank's going to be rocking tomorrow. Over on TalkSport from 5:15, Middlesbrough, Aston Villa, Sam Matterface, Jim Proudfoot and Sean Derry calling that action from 5:15, and then finishing up at a sold-out Rico Arena in Sky Bet League 2. 32,000 expected at the Rico for Coventry, Notts County. Mark Robbins against Kevin Nolan in the technical areas. Adam Bridge and David Conley calling the action for TalkSport 2. Simon Grayson, our summariser this evening on the 72 on TalkSport 2. Derby County 1, Fulham 0. And often when you're talking 180 minutes of knockout playoff football, they talk about this quarter, the second half of the first leg. Look, is it more important than the rest?
Well, the one thing that Fulham will want to make sure is that they don't let it get away from them, that they're not 2-0 down, 3-0 down by being out of the leg. Make sure that you're still giving yourself that opportunity in that second leg for something to play for. So I wouldn't say, and Derby will be the same. They'll be more than happy with the result this moment in time. So both teams have got to make sure that they're still trying to win this second half to get Fulham back into the game and Derby extend it. But if it remains 1-0, I think both teams will be quite pleased with the outcome.
Derby County, the hosts, the first out. One of the easier team talks you'd imagine for Gary Rowe at a half-time at Pride Park. Pride Park rocking this evening under the lights, a wonderful atmosphere. Followed out of the tunnel by Slavici Kanaj's Fulham. Fulham looking to stay in the tie. Derby keen to put this all to bed. Here on TalkSport 2, the 72 on TalkSport 2. Sky Bet Championship playoff football with Simon Grayson alongside our match commentator, Nigel Adderley.
Thank you, Dan. And just expanding on that point, Simon, before we kick off again. Your record in the playoffs as a manager was very good, of course. Well, better than very good. It was excellent. Did that give you confidence when you were going into games that you've been in this environment before and come through it?
Yeah, I think I learned from the experiences of when I was involved in them as a player, and ultimately as well as a manager. You learn from your first one, and hopefully you get the next one right. And what you understand sometimes is when you suffer the disappointment like I did at Leeds, losing in the playoff semi-final, how do you approach the next semi-final that you're involved in, making sure that you're not getting carried away with the situation and everything that goes with it, but you're actually focusing on the main thing, and that's what your team need to and required to do to get a result.
Well, a big 45 minutes coming up here. Derby County leading by 1-0. We'll get the second half underway. Playing from right to left in their white shirts, black shorts and white socks. And Fulham in their black shirts, white shorts and black socks as a long ball is played forward, a high diagonal right from the start of the second half, aimed for Cameron Jerome for Derby County, and it's beyond him and out of play for a throw-in to Fulham on this near side there left. A reminder of the two sides again: Carson in goal, Forsyth, Davis, Keogh and Wisdom for Derby, Johnston and Huddleston, Lawrence, Vidra and Vyman behind Jerome. For Fulham, Bettinelli in goal, Fredericks, Odoi, Ream and Target, Johansson, Kenny and McDonald in midfield, Aite, Mitrovic and Sessegnon. And Slavicia Kanovic, the bearded Serb, out on the edge of his technical area at the start of the second half as Curtis Davis tries to swing a high ball down the line on the Derby right, but it's out of play and it will be a throw-in to Fulham once again. What do you think Jukanovic may have been saying to try and get the message across at half-time?
Well, just to move the ball a little bit quicker, take care of it a little bit better, making sure that when it goes up to Mitrovic that we've got a little bit more support. Looking at as it stands at this moment in time, the Sessegnon staying really wide on this left-hand touchline, and Ayite on the other side staying really wide, and trying to make sure that the wing-backs are then forced back, and that might allow then Kearney and the likes of Johansson to get on the ball where it's a little bit less congested, but they've got to make sure that they remain patient, which I'm sure they will do, and take more care in that final third.
Bit of rain just drifting down at the moment. 90 seconds into the second half. 1-0 Derby lead. And that 13-point lead that Fulham had over them at the end of the regular season has now been wiped away in more ways than one. Kenny just pokes it back towards Ream on the halfway line. And here is Target. Target again finding Kenny, who's allowed to turn. He's looking for Sessegnon, and he was just shouldered off there by Wisdom, some way off the ball, but it was good defending to leave a Sessegnon away from it, and it's gathered by Carson.
I think when you look at Derby with the back five that we're talking about, Wisdom is not really an attacking wing back as such. He's more than happy just to stay a little bit more compact and a little bit deeper and deal with the threat of Sessegnon on Derby's right hand side and Fulham's left.
Wisdom was on loan here from Liverpool. There's a slip there from Bettinelli, and it's ricocheted off Lawrence across the penalty area. But from Fulham's point of view, they were fortunate there was nobody there in a white shirt to finish off and make it 2-0.
Yeah, well, we've seen them being closed down sometimes and end up in the back of the net, haven't we? So quite fortunate there, because it would have been a big hammer blow for Fulham to see that go in the back of the net so early in the second half.
Bettinelli, although he plays in a team that are very technically adept, does not really like the ball at his feet. He likes his central defenders to clear things out ahead of him, and given the ball in that sort of area there was not something he really appreciated. As Fredericks now looking to use his pace down the right, comes in field. Kearney wide towards Ayite in the space that Fredericks had tried to create, but Fulham again moving the ball around in a rather laboured fashion. It's all a bit stodgy from them. Here is Reed finding Target down the left, and Sessegnon, who has barely seen the ball in advanced areas. He will try and fasten onto the ball from McDonald now, and he's done well to keep the ball in play, has he? No, he hasn't. The flag was up. The assistant on the far side seeing that the ball had drifted behind, but Wisdom against Sessegnon could be the key confrontation in the second half. Well,
again, as I mentioned before, that both the wide players for Fulham are staying really wide, and they're trying to isolate and look for that pass of Fulham at this moment in time. The couple of times between Richard Keogh, the right-sided centre-back for Derby, and Andre Wisdom, the wing-back. And it's a good race because both are quick and powerful. Wisdom there obviously got to make sure that he sees the danger out, and he managed to do so that time.
Now it's given away by Davis, and Kenny was caught midway inside the Derby half, and the referee will bring it back here. Sensible refereeing from Roger Rees. Kenny was caught by a high boot, and he tried to play the advantage as Ayite looked to burst into the penalty area, but Derby were able to clear, and rightly the referee will bring it back.
Yeah, good decision, but foot a little bit high there. Be interesting if they want to put it in the box, which they didn't manage to do first half, or they'll be a little bit more intricate and try and work something into feet and have him runners off the back of that.
Well, we can hear the Fulham fans on the far side. Around 2,500 have made the trip up from London, and they'll be delighted to know that the M1 is shut by the time they try and get home later on this evening.
What's M6 going like back north?
Well, I think having been up and down the country on a Friday this season, I don't think I've found a Friday when the M1's not been shut somewhere between the East Midlands and the South East. As Ayite with a high cross into the penalty area, and it's beyond Mitrovic, and it's just glanced away by Wisdom, and it will be a throw-in on this near side for Fulham. And it's all rather quiet, all rather expectant here inside Pride Park, with 50 minutes play. The home side leading by a goal to nil. Sessegnon looking to inject some pace into the move towards the edge of the penalty area, and he tried a right-footed shot after being fed by Kearney, and the right foot really is the swinger, and as a result it swung towards the corner flag.
Yeah, look, he's had the best two opportunities for Fulham, coming inside onto his right foot. We've seen him a few times this season, even with his weaker foot, put it in the back of the net. I think Derby will be concerned that they don't give him too much space, because he's got the capabilities of putting that ball in the back of the net with either his strong left foot or his weaker right foot.
Well, Derby and Fulham have the best, or they share the same home and away record. Derby winning 12 here, drawing 5 and losing 6, and that's exactly what Fulham achieved on the road this season. Derby have had their problems at Pride Park, but towards the end they won the games that mattered against Cardiff and Barnsley, and also as well picked up that crucial draw against Aston Villa. And had it not been for Patrick Bamford's injury time equaliser for Middlesbrough, we would have been sat at the Riverside Stadium tonight watching Middlesbrough playing Fulham, and Derby would have had a match against Villa. But at this stage I'm not too sure if there's any advantage to who you play.
No, I don't think any of the managers involved in the playoffs would have been sort of picking and choosing who they'd like to play, because all these 4 teams in this championship playoff have got great quality and match winners. So whatever hand you dealt, you deal with it, and you hopefully you can come through.
Sessegnon on this near side, challenged by Wisdom, and Sessegnon doing just enough as Wisdom careers into the Fulham technical area and almost collides with Jukanovic, and it will be a throw-in to Fulham. And it's been a rather mundane start to the second half so far. You can almost sense a bit of tension on the field as well. Both sets of players know how important the next portion of the game is. 52 minutes played on TalkSport 2. Derby leading by a goal to nil. This part of our 500 games across the TalkSport network this season. More football than anybody else, and it will culminate in the World Cup finals in Russia. Every single game on TalkSport and TalkSport 2. Mitrovic on the edge of the penalty area, finding McDonald with a shot. It comes back off the crossbar, and the ricochet is off a Derby boot, and it's behind for a corner.
Well, I think we've just seen there what the tactical change that Jukanovic has made. He's got Sessegnon really wide, Aita wide, to get the wing backs back into position, to open the middle of the pitch up a little bit more. Goes into Mitrovic. McDonald follows the pass, and it's a great hit, and unfortunate for his point of view, sees it come back out against the bar, but very unfortunate from Fulham's point of view.
Target will take the corner, an outswinger high towards the far post. Mitrovic was the target, but he doesn't jump. But here is Kearney now, infield towards Aite on the right side of the penalty area. Aite pirouettes, looks for Kearney again, and has the support of Sessegnon, but now Aite with a low shot which skims through the 6-yard area and behind for a goal kick.
That tactical decision from Jukanovic isn't just based sort of in the middle third. Even when Derby Fulham had a throw in in the right back position, level with their own 18-yard box, he was stood right out on this left-hand touchline, more or less in the technical areas, to open up the pitch, to allow more space for Fulham to be able to get the runners and the balls into.
Johansson now finding Aite with a volley, and it's over the top, and it was a wonderful opportunity.
Offside.
Well, the flag wasn't raised. He looked offside.
I think he gave offside, and then he just put it down and gone for the throw in. But again, that's opened the space up. Great ball, and the run from out to in between where the space had opened up. So Fulham have been very good the last 2-3 minutes, and unfortunate not to be back in the game yet.
And the home crowd respond. 54 minutes played on TalkSport 2. Derby leading by a goal to nil, but Fulham have just made it look like a very tenuous lead. But Ream has given the ball away to Vidra, who can scamper infield now. He looks for the runs ahead of him. It was Lawrence who was second favourite to get there before Target. The Southampton loanee clears. Now Sessegnon just scoops it down the line, but it's gathered by Wisdom. Infield again towards Huddleston. And here is Bradley Johnson. And now Forsyth again. The early ball forward. It's controlled by Cameron Jerome, who's done well with his back to goal. Shrugs off Odoi. And now the run will be made by Vidra into the penalty area, and it's clipped over the top by Vyman in the end, and it's gone some way wide for a goal kick.
Good play from Derby. They worked it well. Cameron Jerome did ever so well, held it up, played it back, and then he saw the run of Vyman on that left-hand side, and the runner did really well. Probably just kept hold of him a slight touch, nothing to give a penalty away, and better execution. There could have been 2-0 up, so good play from Derby.
Now McDonald. Fulham looking to be far more proactive here in the opening 10 minutes in the second half, but still trailing by a goal to nil. And we will have the second leg of this tie live on TalkSport 2 on Monday. And there will be live football across the TalkSport network every night next week as we bring you all of the playoff semi-finals from every division. And there will be commentary on the Championship playoff final and the League One playoff final on TalkSport over the bank holiday weekend, with the League Two final on TalkSport 2 on the bank holiday Monday. As Kenny plays it wide to the far side, and Fredericks has got Aite on his outside offering more width, but Fredericks will look to burst into the penalty area. Forsyth does well to hold him up and eventually prevents the corner, does he? No, he doesn't. The ball is out of play on the far side, and Fulham have the opportunity to apply more pressure.
Good defending there from Craig Forsyth. He's gone with the runner of Fredericks and handled the situation well, so good defending.
And Forsyth just glad to be back playing after missing virtually the whole of last season due to a knee injury. The corner is worked short on the far side towards Kearney. And now it's a high ball drifted in by Johansson. It's nodded clear by Huddleston, but Fulham are quick to win it back on this near side. McDonald turns away from Johnson. A low ball across the face of goal is met by Keogh, and Keogh looks to turn defence into attack with the early ball forward. And here is Vyman now coming in field from the right-hand side. Lawrence was the ball down the centre. He also had Vyman further to the left, but the ball found neither.
Yeah, look, Derby, good pass out from the back three there from Keogh. Looked at a counter-attack from Fulham's corner. Ultimately didn't execute the pass, which would have could have been a good position for Lawrence if he managed to get to him.
Aite with a weaving run up towards the edge of the Derby penalty area. It's cleared as far as Johansson. The home crowd want Derby to stop dropping so deep. Target with the high ball in. Mitrovic was the target, and it's headed away by Davis. But at the moment, Derby, although they lead by a goal to nil, are second best in terms of possession, and Fulham, with that tactical tweak Simon has been talking about, are asking all the questions now with 58 minutes played.
Yeah, it's a bit of an end-to-end game at this moment in time. Derby still doing what they're doing, defending deep, looking to a counter-attack. Fulham have been better, managing the ball better, a little bit more movement, and it's going to be an interesting few more minutes, to be fair.
And we also have Premier League action on TalkSport 2 on Sunday. Huddersfield against Arsenal. Arsene Wenger's farewell is live on 2 from 3. And following that, we will have the second leg of Shrewsbury against Charlton from the League One playoffs, with the Shrews leading by a goal to nil following the first leg last night at the Valley. Vidra just drifts a ball wide to the far side, the left, and Forsyth will control, and it's a good ball down the line from him, looking for Vyman, but in front of those Fulham fans, the ball will just nudge out of play, and it will be a throw-in for Fulham. And they will believe that, if not in terms of the scoreline and the general play, then they are back in this game.
Yeah, they are, but they've still not managed to work the goalkeeper. Yeah, they've had the opportunity at the bar, which is a great strike. But I think the tactical tweak that you mentioned with the two wide players staying really wide has helped open the pitch up for Fulham to get the passing and a little bit more space for the key players like Kearney and Johansson on the ball. But obviously got to do more with it in terms of asking more questions of the Derby back five and the goalkeeper.
Kearney wide towards Fredericks on the right. An hour played at Pride Park on TalkSport 2. Derby County 1, Fulham 0 in this Championship playoff semi-final first leg. Target now in the midfield area for Fulham, on towards Mitrovic on the edge of the penalty area. Davis goes to ground, makes the challenge, but then miskicks the clearance, but it ricochets back to him off Aite, and now Derby will try and break themselves. Lawrence trying to release Vidra down the centre. Lawrence believes he was caught inside the centre circle. Adoy is quickly closed down by Jerome, and the ball breaks kindly for the Belgian, not for the first time in the second half, and Fulham are able to bring the ball away with Reed. Here is Target now. Infield towards Ream again, and McDonald, the defensive midfielder, will try and take over. We saw McDonald score an outstanding goal from long range at Millwall 3 weeks ago on TalkSport 2, but on this occasion his shot came back off the crossbar, but that was an early warning in the second half for Derby County.
Yeah, definitely. I keep saying Fulham are going to just take care of that ball a little bit better. Derby's shape has been very good again. I think the big question will be whether these wing backs can keep getting up and down and nullifying the threats of Fulham, and making sure that when they are going forward, they have got the support to make sure that they're not too deep and just sitting in their own third.
Derby looking to become only the second side in 13 seasons to win the playoffs from 6th position. Blackpool were the last side to do that. Simon helped to lay the foundations of that side back in 2010, but they went up under Ian Holloway after a late surge in the season. Remember them beating Forest in the semi-finals. Now Kearney has the opportunity to try and bring it forward again. And Derby rather dropping off, Huddleston giving him too much room. Here is Adoy. Both central defenders for Fulham currently stationed inside the Derby half. Adoy again, finding Kearney as the Londoners look to probe. Now McDonald. Target down the left-hand side. Sessegnon is infield beyond him. Now McDonald again. Kearney looks to find Sessegnon inside the penalty area. Sessegnon has done well to win it back from Wisdom, but the cross was charged down and Huddleston will eventually clear. Now Vyman with the early ball forward, looking for Jerome Bettinelli midway inside his own half. Just about got there to find Ream.
Wow, he's come a long way out of his own goal, and you're thinking, yeah, he's obviously confident, he's got a good touch. Fortunately, he's sort of caught his studs in the ground, because he could have easily gone under or over his foot or misplaced the pass, so he's got away with that one again.
And there have been one or two dodgy moments in the second half for Marcus Bettinelli, who was involved in the games against Reading in the playoffs last season when Fulham drew 1-1 at home. Tom Kearney scoring the goal before losing to a Jan Kermorgant penalty at the Medeski Stadium. Kearney now sees his ball forward, cut out by Johnson. Here is Jerome again, all the way back towards his own goal. He almost makes a gift of that to Mitrovic, but it's scraped away by the home side, and both teams now making plenty of mistakes. And I think it's the tension, isn't it?
The tension and the tempo to the game. The fatigue is going to... We've still got 27 minutes plus injury time for teams to really be out on the feet as such. I think what you're seeing tonight is that Curtis Davies has played a big part for Derby.
Here is Kearney coming forward now, up towards the edge of the area. Oh, the shot turned aside brilliantly by Scott Carson. Fired in left-footed with so much power. It was heading towards that top right-hand corner, but Carson with an outstanding save.
Yeah, we're right behind that. He's really connected well with it, and Scott Carson's got a good, strong hand that it's not just dropped down to somebody in the 6-yard box. He's got it out for the corner, and Derby will be relieved to see that go out for a corner.
The corner has worked short towards Kearney. Out on the right-hand side again, square across the penalty area. Now Target with the angled ball in, which is nodded clear by the bearded Johnson. Target again will chest it back towards Fredericks down the right-hand side. It's deflected off a Derby player into the path of McDonald, but his ball forward doesn't pick out a teammate, and Curtis Davies is able to clear. And Derby County at the moment just content to play on the breakaway, and there's a nod of the head from Gary Rowett as his team dropped very deep once again.
Yeah, he's looking for him just to keep possession of the ball a little bit. When they did the first half, that's where the goal came from, so have the composure.
Now Mitrovic inside the penalty area, looking to turn Davis, who just holds him up again, and Derby are able to clear. 65 minutes played on TalkSport 2. It's Derby 1, Fulham 0 in what has become an intriguing playoff semi-final first leg. Fulham at the moment are the dominant side, but can they turn that dominance into an equalising goal?
Yeah, just going back to that Curtis Davies point, that every time it goes into Mitrovic, he's really tight up against him. He's not allowing him to sort of have an easy ride. He's intercepting things. He's got Huddleston and Johnson sort of tackling from the front end as such, and he's not allowing Mitrovic to be able to dictate play. He's been showing his experience and what a good player that he has been. and still is.
Now McDonald finding Johansson. Mitrovic again lays it off inside the penalty area. Johansson makes the run forward, but then tries to come back in field and find Aite when, from this distance at least, the shot looked to be on.
They're a little bit reluctant to get a shot off, aren't they? They don't really want to just let one go where it might sort of fire across the box, a deflection or anything like that. I think they'd be encouraging the players to, once they've got into that 18-yard box, let fly a couple of times and work Scott Carson.
And there is some movement on the Derby bench, and Akechi Anya will be coming on shortly. And he's not been involved since the East Midlands derby against Forest back on the 11th of March, and he's been used sparingly this season as Kearney is caught, but Roger East allows play to continue. Here is Mitrovic now on the edge of the penalty area, strong enough to ride the challenge. He's found Aite. McDonald again tries to work it wide to the right. Kearney back on his feet, and the ball bobbles into the path of Fredericks. And now Johansson coming short again, back towards Kearney. The game almost being played exclusively inside the Derby half at the moment. Dave Nugent will also be coming on shortly for Preston. Former Preston man.
Preston
for
Wish.
Derby. Yeah. Preston Wish, absolutely. Here is an opportunity now for Fredericks to burst into the penalty area, tries to play the 1-2 with Mitrovic, but the return was too strong from the Serb, and it's out of play, and Derby may be able to make their changes fairly soon.
Yeah, look, we mentioned at half-time and just after half-time how the physical side of this formation and the players that are having to get up and down the pitch. I think when you look at the substitutions, it's going to be the opportunity for some fresh legs. You're probably going to have Nugent, who's going to play where Vidra's been playing. He'll certainly carry the workload. He'll get up and he'll support. It'll be interesting to see where Anya comes on. Will he replace one of the midfield players, or will he go to one of the big win-back roles?
Well, it's Vidra and Jerome, the players who are coming off, so Nugent will go up top, you would imagine, to try and offer a bit more pace, maybe in behind. And Akechi Anya, he could operate on either side. He's going across to the left, and Lawrence will come into the middle.
Yeah, it looks like Anya's going to go on that left-hand roll, trying to protect Fredericks, because they're both as quick as each other, to be fair. So he'll try and shore up that side. He'll try and make sure that when it goes up to Nugent, that he's up there to support, with Lawrence just floating in around McDonald and supporting Nugent when they're attacking.
Well, Dave Nugent, now 33 years of age, 3 goals in his last 3 games. He's lost in the playoffs with both Preston and Leicester. And he was also part of the Middlesbrough team who were involved in the playoffs a few years ago. And Akechi Anya also has playoff personal history to rewrite. He was in the Watford team, beaten by Palace back in 2013. Now Kearney striding forward for Fulham, wide towards the far side, and Aite, who comes square with the penalty area, and he's got support from Johansson, but the players rather concertinaed once again, but Target will nod it back into the penalty area. Mitrovic tries to turn and fire the ball towards goal, but never got hold of it, and it's gone behind for a goal kick.
It just bounced up too high for him. I think he was looking for the lower bounce where he could have swiveled and hit the volley on the turn. Instead of it just bouncing up a little bit, he had to take the extra touch, which allowed the Derby defender to get tight and make him rush his shot. Looking at the substitutions, it looks like that Derby have gone to a back four. They've gone to the 4-2-3-1 system that we thought they were going to play in the before the kick-off, with Vyman coming out to this right-hand side, Anya on the left-hand side, Lawrence just behind Nugent. So the 4-2-3-1 system.
And here is Nugent now, wearing number 28, but he's lost out to Adoy. The home crowd were looking for the free kick, but now Adoy will stride forward, and he's gone beyond Forsyth. There's a powerful run from him up towards the edge of the penalty area. Now he checks back and finds Kearney, but Derby momentarily have lost their shape. They try to recover now as McDonald finds Target. Now Johansson once again, and Fulham's patience will always seemingly allow a team to recover in that sort of area, but Kearney has Fulham set up how he wants them now, wide towards the right hand side, and Aite, the early ball in for Mitrovic, but the ball doesn't stick with him, and yet again it is Curtis Davis And his work on Mitrovic, I think, makes him a contender for one of the players of the match.
Yeah, he's done very well, as we mentioned previously. Fulham are dominating the ball. They've got their own two centre-halves actually in the Derby half, trying to keep things alive. The full-backs are pushing on. It's basically attack against defence at this moment in time, and Derby are doing well in the defensive duties. They've just got to make sure that when they get possession of the ball, they don't give it away cheaply, and they just keep asking Fulham to come and attack them.
27,163 the crowd inside Pride Park this evening, so some way short of capacity, and there are a number of empty black seats behind the goal away to our left-hand side. But Derby still lead here with 19 minutes to play on TalkSport 2, and Fulham have dominated possession for virtually the whole of the second half. Kearney finding McDonald, a low ball slid towards the edge of the penalty area, but it's given away again. And now Keogh can find Nugent, who can stride forward now with the turquoise boots, finding Vyman. Infield towards Huddleston now, who's got 15 yards ahead of him, but he clips it in for Anya, who's got fresh legs. Anya with a first-time ball in. Nugent was the target, but slicing the ball behind for a corner was Dennis Adoy.
Yeah, they took care of the ball. They waited for the opportunity to play it forward. Anya running in behind Fredericks, put a decent ball in with his left foot and managed to defend it well. But another set piece for Derby, where we think they have got the aerial threat, even though Cameron Jerome's gone off. And you could ask questions of the Fulham back four at this moment in time.
Well, Fulham have enjoyed 73% possession. They've had 10 shots in this game. Derby have had 2, but it's Derby who lead by a goal to nil, with 72 minutes played on TalkSport 2. And it's the Derby corner, swirled high to the far post. Keogh nods it back into the 6-yard area, but Roger East had seen some pushing by David Nugent, and it will be a free kick to Fulham.
I think going back to them stats, I think nobody will be surprised about the amount of possession that Fulham have had. That's how they've played all season. They like to dominate the ball, they like to be patient, they like to move it around. They'll just be disappointed that they've not had enough shots and not enough shots on target to really work the Derby back three as it was previously, or Scott Carson.
Target looks to find Aite, but Derby will clear. Vyman with the early ball forward. Lawrence is still full of running. He's drawn McDonald out towards this near side. Lawrence with the low ball in, and diving in at the near post was Akechi Anya, just unable to make contact with a diving header.
Yeah, good work, great run from Lawrence. He sucked McDonald in, who he had the legs on, went past him and put a great ball in, and brave and good movement from Anya, because he's playing off that left-hand side to get across to this near right-hand side post, and ultimately couldn't make any contact on it.
Tim Ream bringing the ball forward now as the Derby crowd try to will their team over the line this evening, and we have the sort of scoreline at the moment which I wouldn't say would suit either side, because Fulham don't want to lose, but they would see this as not insurmountable at Craven Cottage on Monday night.
Yeah, they'd back themselves to get a couple of goals potentially, but I think Derby would back themselves to try and keep a clean sheet and maybe get something on the counter-attack. I think you look at this moment in time that Sessegnon's gone to the right-hand side, and Aite's come over to this to the left-hand side, and Sessegnon on the right to change it around a little bit.
Well, no one lost fewer away games than Derby in the Championship this season, and they also drew 10 times on the road in the regular season, and as things stand that could suit them on Monday. But here is Mitrovic now finding Aite coming in field from the right and giving the ball away, and now Nugent scurrying away in familiar fashion for Derby County. Carefully lays it wide to this near side, and Lawrence. Vyman makes the run down the centre. Vyman was waiting, and Adoy there with a defensive header which may turn out to be a goal-saving challenge.
Again, what a counter-attack from Derby. They've got the pace and the energy and desire to get up there, and then when you've got somebody like Lawrence who can get his head up and put good balls into the box and deliver, he does. And it was good defending, to be fair, because just off the back of his shoulder there you had Nugent looking, and Vyman coming off the wide outside as well. So good play from Derby, but good defending from Fulham.
Lawrence will take the corner. 15 minutes to play on TalkSport 2. Derby 1, Fulham 0 in the Championship playoff semi-final first leg. Lawrence with the corner. It's an outswinger, right-footed, high to the far post. Mitrovic will head clear, but before he had to, Roger East has given the free kick. And there's a bit of a set to inside the penalty area. Nugent was the player who went down, and Roger East just sorting things out.
It's fine. It looks like Fulham are going to make a change. Double change, isn't it?
Yeah, Piazon and Cabano will be coming on. Aite would be one of the favourites to come off. He's
might take Target off and move Sessegnon back to left back, possibly as well.
The fourth official is making the change, and it's Sessegnon who is coming off. It's not really been his night, and Aite is the player who'll be replaced by Piazon. So Neskins Cabano will offer some pace in the wide area, and Piazon can play left or right. He's going over to the right, and Cabano will play down the left.
Yeah, people will be quite surprised about that with Sessegnon coming off. I think it was no surprise Aite coming off. Maybe he just thinks that Target might be a better defender, just see the game out and try and just keep this as it is, knowing that he's got one or two strikers still up there that can go and win them game, or so get back into the game. But it's not been his night tonight. He's not had the service. I think Wisdom's played him very well, and there's huge expectancy level on the kid, and sometimes it doesn't always pan out that you can have the nights that you want to have.
Piazon, and we're at the stage in this game now where they can't win the tie at this stage, but they can certainly lose it. Cabano caught by Wisdom, and it's a free kick for Fulham, a couple of yards outside the penalty area, wide on the left-hand side, and it's the first yellow card of the night.
Surprised it's a yellow card, to be fair. It didn't look
we've seen worse,
anything malicious or anything like that. I think he just tried to make a tackle from behind and just accidentally caught him. Unless it's for something that we've not seen.
Maybe for dissent.
Yeah, well, you can only, that's the only way you can see it, to be fair. You can't see it for the tackle.
Well, Gary Rowett is having a long conversation with Kevin Friend. Once again, the last time I was here, Neil Warnock was having a long conversation with the fourth official for much of the evening, but I'm sure he's already celebrating. Johansson with the free kick, and it's Wisdom who arrives inside the 6-yard area to glance the ball away for a corner.
I think what you can go back to Gary Rowett is that if he'd made that tackle, it would have been a lot higher than round somebody's ankle.
Yes. Now Kearney from the corner, they work it short again around the penalty area. Johansson scoops it in, but it's Wisdom who rises to knock the ball away again. Anya tries to guide a header wide to the far side for Nugent, but McDonald has won it back. Here is Piazon, his first real involvement in the game in open play. Back towards McDonald again on the far side, the Fulham right. 12 minutes to play on TalkSport 2. Part of our 500 games this season across the TalkSport network. More football than anyone else, and at the moment Derby are taking a single goal lead to Craven Cottage on Monday. Mitrovic shrugs off Davis on this occasion, square towards Piazon, who maybe thought about the right-footed shot, wide towards Fredericks once again. Fredericks will try and go beyond Anya, and Anya recovers with a great challenge, and the final touch was off Fredericks behind for a goal kick.
I think you can see there the tactical decision Gary made by Anya going on that left wing, because he's quick, he does the defensive duty, he stay with Fredericks and did his duties really well. You can hear the Derby supporters really getting behind the team now, really backing them to try and keep this clean sheet and give them that opportunity of a lead going down to Craven Cottage after the weekend.
Well, Derby have only been victorious in the playoffs once, and that was back in 2007 in the Championship when they beat Southampton on penalties. The away teams won both legs. Darren Moore, the current caretaker manager of West Bromwich Albion, was on the score sheet for Derby in that second leg. Then they beat West Bromwich Albion by 1-0. Stephen Pearson with that late goal at Wembley before they went on to gain 11 points in the Premier League. As McDonald comes forward now in towards the feet of Mitrovic. Kearney on the edge of the penalty area, wide towards the right-hand side once again, and Fredericks will try and take on Anya again, cuts it in low, but it's only picking out Huddleston, who can guide a ball forward up towards the halfway line. Lawrence will get there first. Anya offering the fresh legs on the outside down the left, but it's back again towards Forsyth, and as we head towards the final 10 minutes, maybe Derby just thinking that 1-0 will not be a bad scoreline to take to South West London on Monday as Wisdom knocks it down the line near side and Cabano just guides it out of play.
Well, what they did well there, they made the decision that they couldn't counter-attack as a group, decided to keep the ball, worked it across the right-hand side, got a throw in, just killed a bit of time, took the sting out of the game, and I'm sure that will be what we'll see from Derby for the remaining part of this game.
Fulham yet to add to their 2 goals in 6 previous playoff games. And they have never won one so far, and at the moment they won't win this one this evening. Bettinelli clears downfield. Davis gets there before Mitrovic. I think Roger Rees was going to give a free kick for the challenge, but here is Lawrence with the right-footed shot, and it's a goal kick in the end for Fulham.
Good refereeing, and you're half expecting him to pull it back to where the free kick should have been given, but good advantage. Unfortunately, Lawrence couldn't hit the target. But again, you see the importance of Curtis Davies is getting up against Mitrovic. He knows that Mitrovic isn't going to run in behind him. He knows that he can get as tight as he wants without getting rolled with his physical strength, and he's played him really well because Mitrovic is a key part of this Fulham team, that he can give them the base to play off and runners from wide areas and midfield players getting up to support, and they've marshalled him really well so far.
9 minutes to play at Pride Park on TalkSport 2. Derby 1, Fulham 0 it remains. Piazon looks to pick his way through the bodies in the midfield area. Huddleston was quickly closed down by Cabano, and as a result his pass forward was hurried, and it's gathered by Adoy on the far side. Now Johansson with the early ball forward. It's chested down by Fredericks. A burst into the penalty area from him, but it's Enya getting back there again with the challenge, this time at the expense of a corner.
Yeah, good defending again, covered the run.
And will Fulham play it short? Of course they do. Here is Kearney now. Wide to the far side. Johansson fires it low into the penalty area. It comes back out towards Kearney again. And here is Cabano down the right-hand side. There was no option for the cross, so instead he goes back towards Piazon, poked in towards Kearney, who tries to turn, and it almost ricochets into the path of Cabano before it spins away off the ankle of Bradley Johnson behind for another corner.
They just keep probing the little 5-yard passes, runners off the back of the Derby back four and the midfield players. They're just waiting for that opportunity to come rather than sort of taking a gamble of a shot in a certain area. And they've got another corner there, was it? And it's come to nothing. Yeah, it's okay having taken them all short all the time, but really sometimes you've got to maybe throw caution to the wind sometimes and trust that the one or two of the big players that you've got in the team might get onto the end of it, or something might happen from a mistake of the Derby players. But it's Jukanovic's philosophy, and you can't knock him for it, I suppose.
Well, they won the game against Sunderland, the previous home game, with the free kick knocked in long, and Mitrovic scored at the far post, so maybe they should try that. But here is McDonald now, 20 yards from goal, spins away from Huddleston, and the referee, I think, thought about the free kick again and eventually plays the advantage again, and then Piazon loses out to Lawrence, and behind the referee's back, Lawrence and Piazon just have a bit of a coming together, and it's a free kick for Fulham.
Yeah, Lawrence looking to get away, Piazon looking to get the ball back.
And the free kick's taken quickly. McDonald heads into traffic on the edge of the area, but here is Piazon. Again he goes for the narrow side, into the centre of the penalty area. Kearney tries to find Mitrovic. Can he turn? He can, and the shot is low and it's blocked, is it? Well, the referee's given the corner after an age.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be a corner. Nearly every Derby player who's in that 18-yard box at this moment in time, they're defending for their lives. They're desperate to keep this clean sheet.
And the corner's worked short this time to Frederick. Square towards McDonald. Around the corner, Cabano almost shrugged off Johnson. Johnson, though, holds onto the ball inside the penalty area. He turns into trouble. Here is Johansson. Square towards McDonald again. And Roger Rees almost gets involved, and as a result the ball breaks to Nugent with the early ball forward, and here is Weimann sprinting forward now for Derby, but he slips at the vital moment, but he's able to recover his footing. Huddleston now looking for the pace of Anya, making the run into the penalty area, and it's knocked back by Ream towards Bettinelli, whose control this time is good, and he hooks it away right footed. 6 minutes to play, breathless stuff. 1-0 to Derby on TalkSport 2. Anya.
That's what Fulham have got to be careful of, that they're throwing everybody forward and they could get done on the counter-attack. And unfortunately for Fulham, that Weimann slipped with a little bit of cramp, and they got away with that one.
Keogh turns into trouble. Was he caught by Johansson? He was. And it's going to be a yellow card for the Norwegian international.
Looks like Derby trying to make a substitution. Wouldn't surprise me if Weimann, who's covered a lot of ground tonight, starting off in that wing-back role on the left-hand side, he's now on this right-hand side, up and down. He's got the pace that potentially could make a substitution with maybe Hansen coming on to play on this right-hand side.
Yeah, Jamie Hansen, one of the players who has come through the academy at Pride Park, will be on very soon. And there were words between the two benches a few moments ago as well, as Keogh with a long diagonal ball forward from the free kick. It's headed away by Odoi, and now Lawrence picks out Anya with the cross in, and it's a deflection which almost releases Weimann inside the penalty area, but it's nodded away towards this near side by Ream. Now Huddleston with a clip ball forward which only finds McDonald. McDonald was caught there. There were a couple of challenges flying in, and the second one, Johnson on Kearney, will result in a yellow card and a free kick to Fulham. There was a naughty one before that by Huddleston.
Yeah, he's got away with one, to be fair, and Bradley Johnson made a challenge there, which is a decent one for the team, because Fulham could have counter-attacked there. So, and a good foul, if you could describe a foul, has ever been good.
Now McDonald coming forward at walking pace for Fulham inside the final 4 minutes on TalkSport 2. Derby lead Fulham by a goal to nil ahead of the second leg at Craven Cottage on Monday evening. Kearney has not really been able to find that killer pass in the second half. Now Odoi wide towards Kearney again. Piazon, and Kearney has space and time to pick out Fredericks. Piazon again, and Fulham continue to probe. Now Kearney with a left-footed shot which is just wide, and Slavica Kanovic thought that was the moment.
Yeah, they really moved the ball nice and quick, and Kearney got the first bit of space that he's had all night, and you just expect him when he's coming in off that right-hand side with his left foot that he's going to hit the back of the net with a shot. For Derby's delight, they see it go past the post, and unfortunately for Fulham, and don't see it at the back of the net. You see Fulham now making a substitution. Oliver Norwood coming on for Johansson, who will give him a pass, and they'll be desperate for him to make that impact in this last 3 or 4 minutes.
Well, Norwood scored the goal for Fulham. Spectacular goal as well when they drew with Derby 1-1 at Craven Cottage back in November. And Hansen has also come on, or is waiting to come on still, for Derby County. Maybe they're thinking about the change, having seen what Fulham have done.
I think because it was a goal kick for Derby, they'll wait till it goes out of play just to kill a bit more time to get the substitution on.
Hansen forward towards Cabano, who chests the ball down. Ream, though, losing out to Weimann. Huddleston with the early ball forward now to pick out Lawrence, who drives it across the field, and it's an easy interception for Fredericks. And now Kearney can drive forward for Fulham over the halfway line. 2 minutes to play. Fulham looking for the equalising goal in the first leg. Now Piazon on loan from Chelsea, back towards Kearney again, and every single Derby player is now back defending, and Fulham do often give you that time to recover your position. Now Norwood, the Northern Ireland international on loan from Brighton. Kearney has the opportunity to work the 1-2 with Piazon, but the Brazilian holds on to it, and he's forced back to the halfway line. Odoi is then caught by Nugent, but the referee is happy for play to continue as Odoi continues his run up towards the edge of the penalty area, and now towards the byline. The cross is eventually blocked, and Anya will hook it across the penalty area, only picking out Norwood. Here is Kearney now. Derby had the chance to clear their lines, but here is Fredericks with the early cross into the penalty area, looking for Mitrovic with the header. And it's the first free header he's had all evening, but it loops high over the crossbar.
Yeah, he tried to get a little bit of space, but Richard Keogh got alongside him and put him under pressure when the header. Derby now making the substitution of Andrea Weimann coming off, and James Hansen coming on.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the call that you thought would happen, and Weimann has run himself into the ground.
He's worked extremely hard for the cause and the team tonight in all the positions that he's played. An outstanding team performance. You look at Fulham now, they're trying to get the ball into Norwood. I know Ollie really well, signed him from Manchester United at Huddersfield, and he can see a pass. What Fulham have got to be aware of, that they just don't concede this second goal with a couple of minutes to go. It's all right trying to win it, but make sure you don't concede. That would be criminal of them.
Now a long bouncing ball into the Fulham half is controlled by Adoy, and here is Ream. And Derby, every time they're out of possession now, are dropping as a unit. The home crowd want them to try and engage a bit further up the field. 4 minutes of added time at the end of this game. Derby leading by a goal to nil. Piazon with a high ball wide to this near side and Target. Now McDonald midway inside the Derby half. Piazon now with an opportunity to try and burst into the area, but instead he plays the 1-2 with Target, and Fulham again take the long way round. And it's been an evening of taking the long way round for them in terms of open play. Ream square towards Adoy. Gary Rowett exasperated inside the technical area, wants his team to try and push on, but here is Fredericks and the ball in field looking for Kearney.
Believe me, sometimes you're shouting your back four to get up the pitch and they can't hear you. They haven't got the energy or the legs to do it. Yeah. You're just desperate to get to an area where, as a manager, you can get a little bit more togetherness as a group and not be camped on the edge of your box. And you're desperate for him to, even if it's 5-10 yards, get up there and make it difficult for the opposition.
Norwood with an excellent ball wide to this left-hand side and Target. Infield towards Cabana with the bright red boots. Back towards Ream now, midway inside the Derby half. Target holds his run and stays onside, but the cross is blocked by Hansen, and it will be a throw into Fulham.
Two subs have done well from Gary. Hansen, just in the last 2 or 3 minutes since he's come on, Anya on the other side, they've really stuck to the task of helping the team out in them wide areas.
The throw in from Target, back towards McDonald. And here is Norwood now, midway inside the Derby half. There's maybe a slight push into the back of Piazon as he lays it back towards Fredericks, and now Mitrovic on the edge of the penalty area. Fredericks will cross it in. Cabano was shaping for it, but Wisdom got there first with a header, and it's a Fulham corner.
Again into Mitrovic, trying to get the runners off him, and then another short corner.
Norwood now square towards Kearney, 25 yards out. Further square to Target. Target steps in field. It's back towards McDonald's. They try to work their way through, and it's given away. Huddleston with the early ball forward, but Bettinelli was alert to the danger, 10 yards inside his own half, saw that Nugent was coming and clears the ball away.
Yeah, good goalkeeping.
Adoy. Fulham refusing to compromise on their principles right at the end of this game. Norwood's ball in, fired hard into the chest of Mitrovic. As a result, he was unable to control, and Derby smuggle it back towards Scott Carson, who will look back on that one excellent save in the second half to deny Tom Kearney.
Yeah, that's been really the only opportunity, apart from McDonald hitting the bar, that Fulham have really contributed in terms of attempts on goal. I think Derby have been very disciplined, and they'll be desperate to keep this clean sheet to take down to Craven Cottage.
Well, it's going to be a fascinating second leg on Monday, whatever happens now. Members of the Derby crowd just want the full-time whistle. They'll settle for 1-0 at this stage. But here is Nugent down the right, and he's won the throw-in off Cabano. And have Fulham done enough in the second half? The answer's probably no, isn't it?
Probably not, no. And a lot of possession, not really asked too many questions in terms of clear opportunities. Derby have defended well, but really they've been compact, and I think it's been a real good team performance from Gary's team tonight, that they've been shaped, stuck to the task. It's panned out how we expected to, in terms of Fulham having all the ball. It's going to be a matter of, can Derby keep a clean sheet with the shape that they're going to be playing.
Now Adoy in towards Kearney, back towards Adoy again, who turns in field, almost gives the ball away to Nugent, and now McDonald has given the ball away to Nugent. Square towards Lawrence on the edge of the penalty area. What can Derby do here? Nugent again, wide towards Anya down the left. It's a high cross towards the far post. Ream will rise to nod the ball away. Cabano heads it in field, and there goes the full-time whistle. And the Derby supporters celebrate, but there is still much to do in this Championship playoff semi-final. But Derby will take a lead to Craven Cottage for the second leg. It's been an evening of hard work from Gary Rowett's team, and Fulham overall have flattered to deceive.
Well, it's been one of them games of contrasting performances and ideas of how you're going to play the game. I think full credit to Gary. He's tactically got it very spot on, that he made the space very difficult for Fulham to play through the lines with a 5 at the back. Ultimately then went when Fulham got on top the second half to the 4-2-3-1 with Anya to start with, and then Hansen coming on in the wide areas to really shore things up. And the second leg is going to be no different. Fulham are going to have 60-70% of the ball again. Derby will be trying to defend as a unit, trying to hit them on the counter-attack. It's going to be whether Fulham can break down the wall that Derby have been able to put up tonight.
Well, plenty of meat on the bone left for both teams after this one. It's finished Derby County 1, Fulham 0.
A slender lead, but the value you take in going toe-to-toe with Fulham and bettering them for long periods, for going and locking horns and saying, we'll match you, we'll better you in certain areas of the pitch, and we'll run the legs off you as well. A big night for Derby County and Gary Roward, and a wonderful night under the lights at Pride Park. Let's get more full-time thoughts from our match commentary team, our summariser Simon Grayson and Sky Sports.
On the Ball on TalkSport 2 with Sky Sports. The dedicated Sky Sports football channel features live football from around the globe, including the EFL, SPFL, La Liga and more.
Simon, an energy epitomised by Lawrence, by Vyman, by the Derby County midfield. They fought like lions tonight.
Look, any level of football, you do not get results if you don't work harder than the opposition. Manchester City do the same, Barcelona do the same thing. Yeah, they're all good on the ball, but if you work extremely hard, it will give your team the opportunity to go and win a game, and that's what they've done tonight. They've come off that pitch and they've left nothing on it, and that's, as a manager, that's all you want your players to do. Come off the pitch and have no regrets that you're thinking, I wish I could have done this, I wish I could have done that. And what they've done is they've carried out and executed the game plan that Gary Rowett had asked them to do. And it's no surprise that we're looking at Curtis Davies as getting the Man of the Match award, because he led by example. The experienced players of Derby really sort of led by example and really sort of showed what's capable of, what they need to do to go and win a match.
Kevin McDonald is a lick of paint away from parity. Tom Kearney, the one real time he got the other side of the Derby midfield, forced a wonderful save out of Scott Carlson. There was chances. There was over 70% of possession throughout the evening for Fulham. Were they good enough though?
Not really. I think it will suggest, and I'm sure they'll be disappointed that they've not asked enough questions of that Derby back three, as it was 5, and then to a back 4 for the latter stages of the game, where really you want to see a few more shots in that. But you can't be too critical of Fulham, because that's how they play. They're not going to change the style. People are critical at times of Arsenal, how they play, but when it really kicks in,
they're trying to unpick a Derby defence, score, walk the ball in the back of the net.
No,
and it's not working.
But it's worked all season. But there has to come a point somewhere down the line that they have to ask more questions of the Derby team. Why not put the ball in the box from a corner? Why take every corner as a short one? You've got Mitrovic, you've got the 2 centre halves coming up there. Do something a little bit different. Yeah, the way they play is outstanding at times, but when it's not quite going your way, ask a different type of question, and that's been something that has probably been thrown at Fulham quite a bit over the last couple of years.
We debated it pre-match, Nigel. When push comes to shove, can Fulham offer something different? Tonight, there was a big answer from me. There was no plan B.
No, there wasn't, but maybe Jokanovic is thinking he'll keep his plan B, if there is one, for the last 20 minutes of the second leg.
That's a big gamble then, isn't it? That's massive.
Well, there was no point in gambling tonight, though, was there, really? Because they could have gambled and lost this game 2 or 3-0 and they'd be out of the game, whereas now they are still in the game. It's no surprise Curtis Davies is walking off with the Man of the Match award, because he was outstanding. He nullified Mitrovic, and basically that has been Fulham's plan B this season. They didn't have a focal point. Mitrovic provided it. We saw in the game against Sunderland, they needed the plan B then, and they did start throwing balls into the penalty area, and Mitrovic scored the winning goal, which kept the hopes of automatic promotion bubbling at that point. But I agree with you to a certain extent. I think all those short corners, Simon, at some stage you've got to throw it in, haven't you?
Yeah, look, anything can happen. You might not win the first header, but a defender might make a mistake and it drops in around that 6-yard box and people then come alive. It's a little bit too predictable. But I do think that both managers will be quite pleased with the outcome of the result. Obviously, Gary being the home team, he'll be expecting and be delighted to take a lead to Craven Cottage after the weekend. But also, I think Fulham will still think that on their day they can turn over any team at Craven Cottage. The way that they play, if they move it a little bit quicker and ask it to be a little bit more positive in terms of shots, they still think that if they can get a 2-goal turnaround to win the leg and get to Wembley.
It's easy to criticise those defeated, and Fulham's performance tonight, not for me, hitting the standards that they've set themselves in the Sky Bet Championship this season. I just thought of the changes. I thought he went to his bench at Kanovich, with 15 minutes to go, a little late. Could they have been a little more proactive?
Again, you don't want to. You've just got to make sure that you don't lose the game.
You've been in this position, Simon.
At 1-0, and it's looking like it's not going to be your night. Sometimes you just have to accept. Let's just take the 1-0. Let's get out of here. Make sure that we're not 2 or 3 down, and make sure that we're going into that second leg at home, and we're going to give ourselves an opportunity to go and win that second leg. They only need a goal to take it to extra time. Concede the second one on the counter-attack, then they're up against it. They will still think they've got a big opportunity. So yeah, I see your point, but I also see that they've got to be a little bit conservative in terms of not throwing the game away.
Run themselves into the ground. 48 hours for Derby to try and energise bodies, minds, make the trip down to the capital, Craven Cottage, on Monday night. That will be a factor for me, won't it?
Well, it will, because no disrespect to some of the Derby players, they're not teenagers. They are experienced players, and I'm sure tonight and tomorrow they'll be doing the recovery sessions, all of them. They'll be giving themselves the best preparation, but it is a quick turnaround for some of these players. But the adrenaline, I'm sure, and the desire and the hunger from these players will be there to try and make sure that they do enough to go and get themselves to Wembley. But Fulham get an early goal, that fatigue can potentially set in, and I'm sure Fulham will play better at home. I'm sure they'll be sort of more vibrant. They've got the home crowd, they'll be on the front foot. It will be a question of, like tonight, can Derby withstand the pressure that they're going to be on again after the weekend?
Tighter pitch, Derby so well organised throughout this evening, an opportunity, and it's very dangerous sitting on that 1-0 lead, a slender lead that Derby have. They've got the personnel, the character and the belief now more than anything that they can go to Craven Cottage on Monday and get the job done.
Yeah, definitely. But again, I'm sure if you're interviewing Gary very soon, he'll be playing it down immensely. He'll be saying, look, there's another 90 minutes, we've got to make sure that we do the same things, keep to the same ideas and beliefs. And as I said earlier, the game on Monday night will be no different to this. Fulham will dominate the ball, they'll have 70-odd possession. They've just got to be more ruthless in that final third if they're wanting to go and win the game and progress to the final.
Well, our intrepid reporter Jeff Peters is off to get the views of both Gary Rowett and Slavica Kanovich. If we're unable to bring it before we finish tonight on the 72 on TalkSport 2, no doubt Saturday Sports Day tomorrow morning from 9 with Adrian Clark alongside Alex Biddle. They'll have some of the post-match reaction of Gary Rowett, who he looked aggravated at times. He was kicking every ball. He was communicating constant dialogue with the fourth official, Kevin Friend. But tonight he should be a very, very happy boy.
I think so. I think he's got it spot on how he played. We were all surprised that he started with the 3 centre-backs. I know he played it in the last game, but everybody thought he was going to play the back 4. So full credit to him. He really made the middle of the pitch really sort of compact and very difficult for him to play into Mitrovic and have the runners from there. The wide players certainly did the jobs in terms of staying with Fredericks and Target and dealing with Sessegnon. And then when he saw that they were getting under a little bit of pressure from them wide areas, he changed it again and brought on Anya, who dealt with Fredericks. Fredericks really didn't create too much on the right hand side second half. So I think a lot of credit can go to Gary, how he executed the game plan. How he put the game plan together. But credit to the players as well that they executed it.
In the tactical battle, Nigel, he got the better of Jokanovic, didn't he?
Well, I think Curtis Davis got the better of Alexander Mitrovic, and that was a key part of the game. And I think that tactically, playing 3 central defenders at the start really helped them. But as Simon mentioned earlier in the second half, Jokanovic worked that out and got the wide players to push extremely wide, and Derby then had a problem to solve, and we saw those chances for McDonald and Kearney early in the second half. But I wonder if Fulham just ran out of a bit of steam, because it's been a long season. They've been chasing Cardiff for a long time, and of course they couldn't quite do it in the end. If they'd won last week, they'd be promoted, and maybe a few tired minds as well as tired legs, Simon.
Yeah, possibly. And we can all analyse the game tonight and think Fulham should have done this, should have done that. But a huge amount of credit has to go to Derby, because they've put their bodies on the line. They've defended really well. So sometimes when a team puts on a performance like that, then they don't sometimes get the credit that they deserve. Sometimes it's more the opposition who are the so-called favourites for the game, the so-called better players, why they've not been able to affect the game, why Sessegnon and others not been on the game tonight. That's credit to the opposition and the manager who set up the team like he has.
Tell me if I'm talking a load of rubbish as well. But
you are. You are. Yeah.
I've got to ask the question first. Thank you for that, by the way. The hoodoo. Never won a playoff match, Fulham. If it was an issue before, is it now an issue?
I'd be lying if I would say that it won't play a part on the minds. I would think that the supporters again will be thinking about it. Does that reflect back down onto the players? Does it make sure you've got to make sure it doesn't affect the players? If I was the manager now, I would be making sure that you are still being positive with the players and saying, forget that record, be the ones that are going to break it. And turn it around, have the glass half full instead of half empty.
Well, you, of course, at Preston, you lost in the semi-finals one year and got promotion the following year. Did you do anything differently, or did you use that as motivation?
Use it as motivation, different type of players, but I think the players as well learnt from that experience and suffered the disappointment. It wasn't as if that summer we missed out on the playoff final that we made 12-14 changes. We had the nucleus of the group, so they understood how it affected them and what it really meant to them, and I'm sure Fulham players will have learnt from last year's experience, and that's why this game isn't over from far stretch of the imagination.
There'll be some pent-up nerves at Craven Cottage. 7:45 Monday Night Live on TalkSport 2. With the great respect I'd call Fulham fans, Craven Cottage, quite a reactive crowd as well, waiting for something to get off their seat. How Salici Jokanovic needs those fans on Monday night.
Yeah, without a shadow of doubt, it's a great atmosphere there. I don't think they'll need any lifting. I think the only way that sort of they'll have to lift themselves if Derby score that first goal, because to then score 2 goals and potentially the third one against the Derby back 4, 5, whatever they decide to play, could make it very difficult. So I think there'll be an electric atmosphere down there. They'll certainly be on top of the players, and they'll try and make that home advantage count.
And I think already it's got the look of a very long evening on Monday night. I wouldn't be too surprised if it finishes 1-0 after 90 minutes and we head into extra time, because I think Fulham, at the moment, they're having to work extremely hard to score a goal, aren't they? And they may only be able to manage it once, if at all, on Monday night. Yeah,
look, everybody knows in the game how Fulham are going to play. And you can set your team up to sometimes combat that, but sometimes you can't, because they're that good at doing it. Teams go to Arsenal and try and do that. You try and go with the best will in the world, that you think, we can do this, we can do that, but they play to their maximum. Fulham will beat anybody on the day, and that's what they'll be expecting to try and do on Monday night.
An opportunity before we finish Simon Grayson and Nigel Adderley alongside me at Pride Park to just pick the bones out of the other Sky Bet Championship playoff semi-final, live over on TalkSport tomorrow, 5:15 kickoff at the Riverside. Middlesbrough, Aston Villa, 2 heavyweights that had such expectation to go back into the Premier League this season. Battles and personalities all over the pitch. Traore up against Terry, Downing trying to pull the strings for Middlesbrough. The influence of Grealish, we'll wait and see on a big night at the Riverside. Very, very difficult to call. You know it's going to be tight. You know it's going to be cagey, Simon.
Well, you know that Tony Pulis's team are going to be hard to play against. They're going to make sure that they're really organised, potentially rely on set pieces. Steve Bruce has been there and done it. He knows what's required at this level to try and get to the final and beyond. Again, you can see it being a real tight affair again. You can see that it being a moment of magic or a set piece from Middlesbrough that was going to give one of the teams the opportunity to take a slender lead to the second leg.
I think Aston Villa rested 9 at Middlesbrough on final day. A fresher feel to them?
Yeah, I think Steve Bruce, he's been saying it's been a release for him dealing with the football team this week after the very sad news about his parents over the last few weeks. So I think, you've got two managers there who have had contrasting playoff experiences in the past. Of course, Steve Bruce won them with Birmingham, and of course with Hull City when they beat Derby a couple of years ago. And Tony Pulis, you have to go back to 1999 when he was the Gillingham manager, who must have thought he'd beaten Manchester City 2 goals up in injury time, and then City came back, and had they not won that game, things could be very different now. But so he's got some unfinished business. But in the league this season, it was 0-0 at Villa Park, and I think Snodgrass scored a late winner at the Riverside for Villa, and I could see it being the sort of tie where there may only be 1 goal over it as well. I think it's going to be very, very tight. Yeah,
with Tony's teams, they're going to be hard to beat. They're going to be organised, and if Middlesbrough get any advantage going into the second leg, he knows how to set up a team that knows how not to get beat and keep clean sheets. So interesting couple of games in the next for them two teams.
And also as well, there's massive pressure on Villa, because I think there's always been a sense of entitlement about many of the Villa fans this season, because ever since they've been relegated, you go to Villa Park, if a couple of passes go astray, the crowd are grumbling already, and they lose a couple of games. People are on social media saying Bruce out, he's a blue nose, he's, get rid of him. He's had to deal with that, and he's often talked about the roller coaster that is Aston Villa, because he just needs an even keel, and he knows what it takes to get teams out of this division, because he's done it 4 times. But I think for Villa in particular, it's not now or never, because it never is, but it's a massive occasion, this, isn't it?
Yeah, look, this was always going to be a big season, because they missed out last year, and they invested in the summer, bringing in the likes of John Terry and Robert Snodgrass, to mention a couple. They were looking for automatic promotion. There's no way getting away from that, because of the factors that you mentioned. They are a massive club. I was fortunate to have a couple of years there, and you understand what it's all about. But Middlesbrough are under a similar sort of pressure, because the 50 million I think they spent in the summer. So they're all desperate, as these two teams are tonight, to get to that playoff final and ultimately Premiership.
Well, it's one of 4 playoff commentaries across our network tomorrow. Simon Grayson, Nigel Adderley, thank you for your wonderful work and company over the last few hours at Pride Park this evening. Scunthorpe Rotherham getting us underway on TalkSport 2 from midday. Glanford Park tomorrow, Scunthorpe Rotherham, Alex Crook and Matt Murray, your commentary team. Then we'll be at Sincilbank from 3 for Lincoln against Exeter. Middlesbrough Aston Villa following on TalkSport from 5:15, and then it's Coventry Notts County on TalkSport 2 from 7:30. A sellout Ricoh Arena tomorrow night. Coming up next on TalkSport 2 this evening, it's the European Football Show with Nat Coombs and Andy Brassel, but we're going to do it all again on Monday night as these two lock horns once more, with Derby just about their noses in front. We'll see you very soon.
Adoy plays the early ball forward, looking for Mitrovic. It breaks into the path of Sessegnon with a low shot, right-footed on his wrong side inside the area, and it whizzed over the angle. Back to the left and fore side. A high cross in. Jerome's header! Cameron Jerome with a wonderful goal for Derby County, and they strike first in this playoff semi-final. Fulham were pulled this way and that, and eventually Cameron Jerome, a playoff specialist, comes up with a big moment. Derby 1, Fulham 0. Mitrovic on the edge of the penalty area, finding McDonald with the shot. It comes back off the crossbar, and the ricochet is off a Derby boot, and it's behind for a corner. Here is Kenny coming forward now, up towards the edge of the area. Oh, the shot turned aside brilliantly by Scott Carson. Fired in left foot, it was so much power. It was heading towards that top right-hand corner, but Carson with an outstanding save.
Yeah, we're right behind that. He's really connected well with it, and Scott Carson's got a good, strong hand that it's not just dropped down to somebody in the 6-yard box. He's got it out for the corner.
Fulham continue to probe. Now Kenny with a left-footed shot, which is just wide. And Slavicia Kanovic thought that was the moment. And there goes the full-time whistle. And the Derby supporters celebrate, but there is still much to do in this Championship playoff semi-final. But Derby will take a lead to Craven Cottage for the second leg. It's been an evening of hard work from Gary Rowett's team, and Fulham overall have flattered to deceive.
On the Ball on TalkSport 2 with Sky Sports. The dedicated Sky Sports football channel features live football from around the globe, including the EFL, SPFL, La Liga and more. Sticking around in the EFL on TalkSport 2 with Bostik, the big name in adhesives that won't let you down. Every Thursday night, listen to the 72 for an unmissable weekly roundup of all the big name news from the EFL, from the top of the table to the relegation zone. Whose unbeatable performance has cemented their position and who's come unstuck. Stay glued to your radio with the EFL feature you can rely on. Sticking around in the EFL on TalkSport 2 with Bostik, the big name in adhesives that won't let you down.
Winston Wolf here. Now listen up. It's a beautiful morning. You wake up, look outside, and see your precious car gleaming in the sun. And then you see one nasty dent on the side. Some bozo's bad driving has ruined your pink paint job. You're furious. That's when you thank your lucky stars you're with Direct Line. Unlike with other insurers, you won't lose your no-claim discount when you claim it's not your fault.
Hit while parked? Your no-claim discount is safe. Can your motor insurance do that? With comprehensive cover as standard, excesses apply. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
Keeping your four wheels fresh when you've got a four-legged friend can be a hairy business. Until now. Power Out Pet Mess Kit is the brilliant new product from Turtle Wax that keeps canine-carrying cars clean. Whether you take your Vizsla in a van, your Hound in a hatchback, or your Black Lab in a black cab, Power Out Pet Mess Kit is the simple way to remove the unwanted hairs and odours pet passengers leave behind. Turtle Wax Power Out Pet Mess Kit. Trusted innovation inside and out. Buy today from Halfords to get 20% off.
Hello, can I help?
Could you tell me more about this kitchen?
Sure. It was conceived by Clive, our designer, brought into the world and assembled by Kate and Stefan. The worktops were lovingly nurtured by Dan. There are 197 pieces of wood, 82 joints, 510 screws.
Okay.
At Wren, we not only design, make and install our kitchens, we put our heart and soul into them. Visit us now for our 60% off multi-buy offer when you buy 5 or more fully assembled units.
One thing we've learned over time, there's always room for improvement. Something we've been working on for over 50 years as the UK's #1 commercial vehicle brand. So we asked you, the customer, what we could do to improve our new Transit range. Your response inspired thousands of ideas, creating a new range with a model to fit any business. Take the new Transit Custom, our most versatile and hard-working model yet, with an advanced optional Sync 3 system offering voice control features and much more. Discover what the new Transit range can do for your business at Ford.co.uk. Ford. Together, we go further.
There's rich, there's extremely rich, and then there's filthy rich. And we're celebrating them in the 30th edition of the Sunday Times Rich List. Find out how Britain's wealthiest have changed from being predominantly aristocratic to being increasingly entrepreneurial. Only in the Sunday Times this weekend.
Good evening, you're listening to TalkSport 2. Coming up at midnight tonight, you can catch the TalkSport 2 Transfer Centre with Sam Ellard and Alex Biddle. Then at 1am, it's the best bits of Rennie and Webster. But right now here on TalkSport 2, it's time for the European Football Show with Nat Coombs and Andy Brassel.
The European Football Show.
Wow. Ronaldo scores! New Kings! 1-0 Juve! Into the area, Lewandowski! He's done it again!
Online and on DAB Digital Radio, the European Football Show on TalkSport 2.
Hello and welcome to the European Football Show as we aim to complete the season unbeaten, just like Barcelona, who held on in El Clasico to keep that dream alive. Much of this, of course, will depend on the fitness of my co-host Andy Brassel, who's looking up for it this week, thankfully, so we should be fine. Less settled, however, are various other major European football names like Lewandowski, Griezmann, Neymar. Where will they be playing next season? We'll get into that for sure. We'll get you up to speed on the remaining title races that need deciding. Scratch Italy off that list pretty much, with Juve about to land the double following their decimation in Milan in the Coppa Italia final. Take Portugal off that list too after Porto locked down the title, but Turkey is still open just, though Galatasaray now very much in pole position. So a bad week all around for Başakşehir then, as Arda Turan got a lengthy ban for shoving an official. We'll get into that. A race for European spots in France, Germany, Spain and Italy, as well as the battles at the other end of the table. We'll preview the Europa League final between Atleti and Marseille. We'll also be joined by the writer Tom Williams on his new book, about the language of football. Looking forward to that. Some more bangers for the playlist and as many of your tweets as we can squeeze into the show. So get in touch at Nat Coombs, at Andy Brassel, at TalkSport2. Good to have you with us. Indeed it is. Afternoon, Brass.
How are you? Okay?
Very good indeed. I'm trying to remember when I reference bangers for the playlist. You'll remember, of course, Sheridan was on last week's show. And when Sheridan is on the show, he gets the honour of choosing the Italian track. So producer Matt told us just before we came on air, oh, Nat, I'm using your track from the week before, which I can't remember what it was. So I've got about 20 minutes and change to remember that. Well, I can start producer Matt, I guess. But all the tunes you hear on the show, and they're new every week, new tunes every week, including listener requests. So use the Twitter handle I just gave out, at TalkSport2, at Andy Brassel, at Nat Coombs. If you've got questions for the show or requests for the playlist, they're all together on Spotify. So if you just search European Football Show on Spotify, you'll find all the songs.
Yeah, we've got a few requests today from the listeners.
Nice. I'm looking forward to
in
that.
the playlist. Yeah.
Right then, let's get right into it. We are, of course, going to be previewing all the big games going on this weekend, looking ahead to the Europa League final next week as well. I mentioned Tom Williams, his book, Do You Speak Football? Tom's going to be joining us in the second hour. We'll look at Portugal in more detail as well, with Carlos Santos in the top of the second hour. So lots to cram in, but we'll kick things off with the big headlines from the last 7 days. You've had a good week, as you say, Brass. Not so much Manuel Neuer, and I guess by association both Bayern and Germany. His rehabilitation facing another setback. He was hoping to complete a full match in training, wasn't able to do that at all. Of course, it's been a long time since he's been out, since fracturing the bone in his left foot. He's going to miss the rest of the domestic season. Is it extremely likely now that he's going to miss the World Cup?
Well, that's been the thought all week, hasn't it? How can he go to the World Cup without playing? In fact, Neuer himself said, last week? He said, how can I go to the World Cup if I haven't played any competitive games?
Yeah.
So this has been the first time, really, that people have flagged up a concern. They've just thought, it'll be all right in the night. It's Manuel Neuer. And also the sense, I think, that a goalkeeper, rightly or wrongly, the sense that a goalkeeper doesn't have to play himself in as much as an outfield player has to.
How much of a difference is there, do you reckon?
Well, I think it's even more difficult, I think, for a goalkeeper in a way, because especially with Bayern, because I mean there was talk earlier in the week that there may have been some thought that if Bayern were comfortable enough in the cup final against Frankfurt, then maybe they'd bring on Neuer as sub. How is that going to help? If you think of his first appearance for Bayern this season, it took him 23 minutes to touch the ball. I mean, it's very possible he could come on and not touch the ball. Yeah. It's like, I'm back on the road to fitness now. I mean, that doesn't work at all. I took a bit of a wander out of my penalty area. Yeah. You'd probably get something more vigorous in training, wouldn't you? So the interesting thing is there's a little twist to this, and it's that Jupp Heynckes has seemingly understood the seriousness in Germany terms of what he said earlier in the week when he said that he won't play against Stuttgart on the weekend, and then he won't play the last Bundesliga game, and then he won't play in the cup final. And what that means, of course, with 2 friendlies left for Germany before they go to the World Cup, because in his press conference before the last game of the season today, his final press conference, of course, in charge of Bayern, he came out and said, he's looking a lot better. And maybe we will include him in the group for the cup final. Who knows? We're hoping he's going to be available. But they're not going to start him in the cup final. I mean, how can they start him in the cup final? He hasn't played since September.
What's Germany's plan B then?
Well, it's got to be Marc-Andre ter Stegen. He's got to be the next cab off the rank. But I think the interesting thing is once you get past ter Stegen, you're not looking at a lot of informed keepers over the last little while. I mean, Bernd Leno is very up and down. I mean, he's someone who was linked with the Napoli gig, wasn't he, with Pepe Reina moving on. But that is off the table now. They seem to want Rui Patricio, even though they might be bid out of that by Wolverhampton Wanderers. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's difficult. Of course, Neuer himself had put forward the idea of Sven Ulreich, who maybe sort of dogged a little bit by that error in the Bernabeu, but that really shouldn't, because he has had a terrific season. Yeah. If you're looking amongst German qualified goalkeepers, Ulreich is right in there on the back of this season.
Okay, let's stay with Bayern. Let's stay with Heynckes as well, actually, in relation to Robert Lewandowski, another big name in the news this week. He's unsettled quite clearly at Bayern and kicked off when he left the field in Bayern's last game. He didn't even shake Heynckes' hands. Heynckes was asked about it. He said, "It's me that's in charge, nobody else." unequivocal there.
Because the feeling was that Lewandowski wanted to stay on to hit 30 league goals for the season.
So you can understand why he's unhappy about that. Unhappy about the amount of playing time he's been getting. A report on ESPN FC earlier on, a source close to that website said he's not happy about how much he's figuring. But on the flip side of that, and more intrigue, Real Madrid, which was seemingly a possible destination if he was to leave the Allianz, Sky Germany today claiming that Real Madrid no longer interested in him.
Yeah, that's right. And I think part of that has to do with Bayern's stance, which has been very, very strong throughout. And they've been saying, look, we're not going to sell him.
Yeah. Because as you said for a long time, they don't need to.
Yeah, and he would be very, very difficult to replace. I think from a money perspective, you could understand why they would sell him, because when are they going to get more money for him? He's 30 years old and he shows no sign of dropping off. But the sense that he's started to throw his star weight around, we're not just talking about this drop at Cologne last week, we're not just talking about the hire of Pinija Harvey, but I think going back a bit further than this, because we can say how him throwing a strop at Cologne is symptomatic of him not being happy. Well, you know what? When he was chasing the Golden Boot with Aubameyang last season, he was doing exactly the same thing. He was moaning that he wasn't getting enough chances off his teammates and all the rest of it. So this is nothing new. Of course, then he spent the first half of the season going, I need a backup striker. You've got to give me some rest. I need a backup striker. And then he gets a backup striker and he's like, oh, well, I'm not playing as much. I'd like to be. I mean, come on.
You want your superstars to be a little bit diva-ish, though, I guess.
Speaking of which, we should say that Frank Ribéry and Arjen Robben have both signed contract extensions this week for a year, as well as Rafinha.
Well, there you go. Evergreen, the pair of them. Still, it's remarkable just how great players, obviously, but how significant they still are for this Bayern side. Speaking of significance to a side, and, well, I don't want to go as far as to call him a diva, but Griezmann to Barcelona is